LoveLore Library. Chapter 768. Both Li Xiaodao and Lu Xiaoxing were Yun Guangdou's confidants, but what Li Xiaodao knew was only related to the company. Only Lu Xiaoxing knew Yun Guangdou's true identity. Li Xiaodao knew that it was inconvenient for Lu Xiaoxing to say something behind his back, so he nodded and walked out of the room. This was nothing. He was just President Yun's military advisor, responsible for making plans, but Lu Xiaoxing was President Yun's real confidant. After Li Xiaodao left, Lu Xiaoxing lowered his voice and said, "President Yun, this fucking Yang Ming is too much. Should we use some ruthless methods?" Ruthless moves. What ruthless moves? Wasn't the previous move ruthless? Wasn't it resolved by him? I'm so pissed off. Yun Guangdou said angrily. President Yun, have you forgotten our identity? Lu Xiaoxing suddenly reminded him with a sinister smile. Identity? You mean to use that, to deal with him? Yun Guangdou was stunned and then whispered. Yeah, we can use voodoo to deal with him, let him die. Lu Xiaoxing said fiercely. He hated Yang Ming to the bone. The previous fat beating was unforgettable for Lu Xiaoxing. But we use voodoo to deal with ordinary people. If the elder knows, will he let us go? Yun Guangdou said hesitantly and worriedly. Now, we have made Elder Yu unhappy. We are considered to have defected. President Yun, do you still expect him to let us go? Lu Xiaoxing shook his head. He just doesn't have the mind to care about us now. That's right. If the old man Lon Hai doesn't appear, Elder Yu won't be at ease for a day. Yun Guangdou nodded. Then, let's do it. Let's give him a ruthless voodoo and kill him. Xiaoxing, this matter can't be known to others. I can only let you go. It's okay for me to go, but the key problem is that I only know a little about voodoo. It's not very powerful, right? Lu Xiaoxing was only a peripheral member of the barbarian Wu clan, unlike Yun Guangdou, who was a direct disciple. That's easy. I will prepare the voodoo. You just have to do it. Yun Guangdou said. Oh my God. Lu Xiaoxing said proudly. This was a good opportunity for him to take revenge on Yang Ming, an opportunity that he had been plotting for a long time. Lu Xiaoxing was selfish. Last time, he was beaten up so badly by Yang Ming. If he did not take revenge on Nanping, he would be furious. Yang Ming naturally didn't know that there were people thousands of miles away waiting for an opportunity to retaliate against him. And the matter here had already made Yang Ming somewhat anxious. Valentine's Day was a very romantic holiday, but for Yang Ming, it was like a day of suffering. The reason was very simple. There was only one Valentine's Day, but he had more than one lover. Who to go out with and who not to go out with made Yang Ming extremely vexed. Shuya's concert was still going on. Yang Ming didn't tell her that he was her online friend. There's no true love in this world, but he told Chen Mengyan Shuya's QQ number. As for whether Chen Mengyan would tell Shuya his identity, that was her business. However, he didn't know whether Chen Mengyan was selfish or not. When she added Shuya's QQ number, she didn't mention who she was. Instead, she added Shuya as a friend as the girlfriend of There's No True Love in This World. Shuya was bored lying on the hotel bed. 2 consecutive nights of concerts made her a little tired. Although she was still young, she couldn't overdraft her body. Suddenly, there was a cough sound from the computer. There was a new system message on QQ. Shuya clicked on it, and it was a friend request. There's no true love in this world. Shuya looked at the personal information of this online friend suspiciously. She thought it was a side account of There's No True Love in This World, but she didn't expect the gender to be a woman. intuitively judged that this person had something to do with "there's no true love in this world," so Shuya clicked on the confirmation button and added her as a friend. "Hello, are you there?" The other party sent a message. "Hello, I'm here." Shuya replied, "Excuse me, you are?" "I'm the girlfriend of "There's no true love in this world." "Hee, I heard that you are a big star, so I added you on QQ," Chen Mengyan said. "Hee, I guessed it." "Hello." Shuya sent a smiley face. Shuya and "There's no true love in this world" were relatively close friends, but there wasn't the slightest relationship between men and women. Therefore, she was very polite to Chen Mengyan without any hostility. Chen Mengyan knew Shuya's true identity, so she didn't have any hostility to Shuya. The two people casually chatted about their daily lives, and they got along well. As they talked about emotional issues. It was no wonder that the two girls in adolescence talked about the most topic was probably feelings. Shuya didn't know why, but she had an innate sense of intimacy with "There's no true love in this world." Perhaps it was because of "There's no true love in this world," Shuya easily revealed her own thoughts. When Chen Mengyan asked her if she had a boy who she liked, Shuya actually admitted it. Firstly, Shuya didn't know that the other party was Chen Mengyan. She just regarded her as a netizen that she had never met. Secondly, Shuya also wanted to find someone to talk to. Although "There's no true love in this world" had a good relationship with her, and they got along well, after all, he was a boy. It wasn't good to tell him some of the girl's thoughts. "Then, are you together?" Chen Mengyan asked as if it was a piece of gossip. "No, he has a girlfriend." Shuya replied helplessly. "Ah. No way, you are so excellent. How can that person choose someone else? Is he blind?" Chen Mengyan naturally knew Shuya's true identity and had seen Shuya's amazing charm, so Chen Mengyan naturally thought that the man Shuya liked was really blind. However, Chen Mengyan was also very relieved. Since Shuya had someone she liked, then there would be nothing special between her and Yang Ming. However, Chen Mengyan felt that in this world, only Yang Ming was worthy of such a beautiful and refined beauty like Shuya. This was a contradictory mentality. He isn't blind. His current girlfriend is also very beautiful. Shuya sighed and continued to type faintly. "It's just that the story between me and him is very complicated. Can you tell me?" Inquiring about the privacy of a celebrity was a characteristic of every fan. "Well, anyway, there is nothing to do now." Shuya looked at the time. It was still early to sleep, so she would talk to her. "When I was in junior high school, I liked a boy. He was my desk mate. It can't be said to be love. Anyway, it was a kind of hazy feeling. However, I know that he must have this feeling for me," said Shuya. "It sounds so romantic. I envy you," Chen Mengyan said with some fascination. There was some regret in her heart. "When I was in high school with Yang Ming, why didn't I secretly play some small love games? At that time, this kind of underground love was quite interesting." It was just that Chen Mengyan wanted to study hard, so her thoughts and concepts were not the same as now. "Yeah, that relationship was really beautiful," Shuya said from the bottom of her heart, but later, another girl who liked him told the teacher about our relationship in order to be with him. In the end, the teacher invited both his and my parents, and my relationship with him ended just like that. Ended? Why? You can still be together with him secretly. Chen Mengyan was puzzled. My father is very snobbish. He felt that his family's conditions weren't good enough for me, so he transferred me to another school. At that time, I was too young, and I couldn't go against my father's wishes. So, we separated like this," said Shuya. "What? You transferred? Chen Mengyan was shocked. Before that, she felt that Shuya's past was somewhat familiar. When she heard that Shuya transferred, Chen Mengyan was shocked. She stood up and looked at the chat record on the computer screen in disbelief. Chen Mengyan only felt that her head was boom and became blank. Could it be that between Shuya and Yang Ming, yeah, I transferred? Shuya couldn't see Chen Mengyan's expression. She was still wondering about Chen Mengyan's tone just now. Chen Mengyan forced herself to calm down and took a few deep breaths. Then, she said, did he get together with the girl who complained? No, but after that, he fell and became a little punk in the society. Every day, he fought and skipped classes. Of course, this was what I found out later. Shuya said. Then, is he still a little punk now? Chen Mengyan felt that her fingers seemed to be disobedient. She was trembling as she typed a few words. No, after that, he met his current girlfriend. He changed a lot for his current girlfriend, and he was admitted to university. Said Shuya. Then, does he know that you still like him? Chen Mengyan was anxious. I'm very conflicted. When I saw him again, although I wanted to recognize him, he loved his current girlfriend. I was afraid that if I opened my mouth, I would be rejected by him. Then I would die of discomfort. This is my last hope. I want to leave myself some space for fantasy. Shuya was moved. She couldn't help but tell the other party about her thoughts. Chen Mengyan was completely dumbfounded. She looked at the computer and didn't know how to answer. Recalling when she saw Shuya's tone of speaking to Yang Ming, and that kind of resentful eyes, Chen Mengyan was more convinced that the person Shuya was talking about was Yang Ming. Before, Chen Mengyan didn't think about this. She naturally thought that Shuya was a big star. It was impossible for her to have anything with Yang Ming. Therefore, even the sensitive Chen Mengyan didn't think much about it. But now, it was different. Chen Mengyan gritted her teeth and typed 5 words on the keyboard. Are you Suya? Chapter 769. Chen Mengyan hesitated and was nervous. After a long time, she pressed backspace a few times and erased the words that she had just entered. Chen Mengyan didn't know if this sentence should be asked. She was also very conflicted. As Yang Ming's girlfriend, she was very sensitive to this kind of thing. If the other party was really Suya, and Chen Mengyan exposed this matter, it would be really difficult to end it. In her heart, she didn't want Suya to return to Yang Ming's side. Chen Mengyan was very clear about Suya's position in Yang Ming's heart. Chen Mengyan didn't know who was more important between her and herself, but at least she knew that Suya was definitely not inferior to her. This made her have some confidence. She was afraid. She was afraid that once Suya returned to Yang Ming's side, Yang Ming would no longer spoil her. Suya would replace her. Chen Mengyan struggled. She stared at the computer screen and breathed quickly. She didn't know what to say. However, Chen Mengyan was also very conflicted. If she knew these things, but she hid it from Yang Ming, or pretended not to know for her own personal benefit, then what would Yang Ming think of her when he knew the truth one day? As a matter of fact, paper can't always cover the fire. With Suya's infatuation, sooner or later, she would confess to Yang Ming. At that time, wouldn't she become a villain? Thinking of this, Chen Mengyan gritted her teeth and re-entered the sentence just now in the chat box. She closed her eyes and clicked on the shortcut key to send. Shuya, who was on the other side of the computer, saw the message sent by Chen Mengyan, and suddenly her face changed. She looked at the message in front of her with some horror and disbelief. My identity has never been told to anyone. How did this netizen opposite me know my true identity? Shuya was very confused and surprised. Even Yang Ming didn't know his identity, so how could this netizen know? However, Shuya immediately breathed a sigh of relief. In many places where Mandarin was not standard, the shu in her Shuya was a retroflex sound, but it was often pronounced as a flat tongue sound. In other words, shu was pronounced as su. When using the pinyin input method, it was easy to type Shuya as Suya. As for that online friend of his, there's no true love in this world, didn't he say that he wanted to attend his concert? Then, what I said at the concert must have made him understand that the netizen called I'm a superstar was Shuya. Therefore, it wasn't strange for him to tell his girlfriend about it. Hence, Shuya replied, yes, I am Shuya. When Chen Mengyan saw that the other party didn't admit it, she frowned. However, since it had already been revealed, there was no turning back. She had to continue to ask, not Shuya, but Suya. Can you understand what I mean? Chen Mengyan was also very nervous. On the one hand, she wanted Shuya to continue to deny this fact so that she didn't have to worry anymore. On the other hand, she was very sure that the other party was Suya. Because a woman's sixth sense was often very accurate. Who are you? Shuya looked at the message sent by Chen Mengyan. The degree of shock could be imagined. This was her secret, a secret that few people knew. But, how did the other party know? How is this possible? This made Shuya doubt the identity of the other party. You admit it, right? Chen Mengyan didn't answer but continued to ask. What is your purpose? Shuya was actually not afraid of her identity being exposed, but her father's identity would inevitably be exposed. Although he was far away in Hong Kong, it was difficult to guarantee that the enemies of the past would find him. Therefore, Shuya must be cautious. Half an hour later, let's meet at the coffee shop at the entrance of Heavenly World. You will know by then. Chen Mengyan calmed down her very excited emotions and said. Okay. Shuya finally typed out a word. This involved her biggest secret, and this matter was now known by others. How could Shuya not be nervous? When Shuya wore big sunglasses and entered the coffee shop, she found that Chen Mengyan was actually sitting at a table not far away, drinking coffee alone. Shuya was a bit puzzled why Chen Mengyan didn't come with Yang Ming, but since she saw her, she still politely went over to say hello. Sister Mengyan, what a coincidence. You are here too. Shuya concealed the panic in her heart and greeted Chen Mengyan. Sit down, Sister Su. I have been waiting for you for a long time. Chen Mengyan put down the coffee cup and smiled at Shuya. What? Shuya was stunned, and then she looked at Chen Mengyan with some horror. The three words, Sister Su, were like a sharp sword, stabbing Suya's eardrums. My online name is There is no true love in this world. We just chatted. Sister Su, don't you remember? Chen Mengyan was actually pretending to be calm. She must maintain her calm image. She couldn't let Shuya, who was Suya, look down on her. If she really came together with Yang Ming, if she lost her momentum, wouldn't she be bullied in the future? It's you. Shuya looked at Chen Mengyan with some disbelief. You are There is no true love in this world. Chen Mengyan nodded. It's me. Then, there is no true love in this world. Shuya couldn't imagine it. It's Yang Ming. Chen Mengyan smiled and said, Now, do you know why I guessed that you are Suya? Shuya's expression became a little pale for a while, but in the end, she sighed and sat opposite Chen Mengyan. Her momentum was a little weak. What do you want? Shuya naturally thought that Chen Mengyan came to find her. After all, Chen Mengyan was now Yang Ming's real girlfriend, and she was just a memory. He still likes you. After a long time, Chen Mengyan finally said something that was neither a question nor an answer. Chen Mengyan's heart at the moment was also very bitter. She had indulged Yang Ming again and again, letting the women around him continue to increase. She had no other choice but to tolerate and acquiesce. Although she didn't want Suya and Yang Ming to recognize each other, Chen Mengyan was also very clear about Yang Ming's character. If she concealed such a big thing, then Yang Ming would blame her when he found out. Moreover, Chen Mengyan couldn't stop Suya and Yang Ming from meeting again. In this case, it was better to let nature take its course. Even if Yang Ming had Lan Ling, Lin Jiyun, and even Zhou Jiejia, Chen Mengyan never thought that they would shake her position in Yang Ming's heart. This time, the appearance of Suya made her feel a sense of crisis for the first time. Chen Mengyan wasn't stupid. She knew that blindly resisting would only add trouble to herself. After all, Suya and Yang Ming knew each other much earlier than her. Therefore, Chen Mengyan decided that since they were opponents, she didn't have the confidence to defeat Suya, so it was better to be friends. This way, she could maximize her position in Yang Ming's heart. Chen Mengyan didn't say who he was specifically referring to, but she and Shuya both knew who this person was, so there was no need to say it. Why are you telling me this? Shuya had some doubts. Aren't you afraid that my appearance will bring you trouble? To tell the truth. Chen Mengyan smiled with some self-deprecation. To tell the truth, I'm very afraid. Then why did you come to me? Shuya was somewhat puzzled. Because he can't let go of you in his heart. Chen Mengyan said with some helplessness, Sister Su, am I very realistic? Silly sister. Shuya was suddenly moved. She couldn't help but reach out and touch Chen Mengyan's delicate face. You are Yang Ming's girlfriend. Even if I really come together with him, with my identity, how much time do you think I will have to accompany him? Shuya said this with the intention of probing. The meaning vaguely revealed in her words was that she was willing to share Yang Ming's love with Chen Mengyan, but she wouldn't reject Chen Mengyan. I didn't mean that. Chen Mengyan listened to Shuya's words and was somewhat relieved. What Shuya said was true. As a big star, how could she have so much private time? Thank you. Shuya's expression suddenly turned serious as she sincerely said. This had always been Shuya's biggest worry, which was Chen Mengyan's attitude problem. But today, it seemed that Chen Mengyan didn't have much hostility to her. Chen Mengyan smiled shyly. She didn't know whether what she did today was right or wrong. However, she had to admit that Chen Mengyan had grown up. She had become much more mature than a year ago. Why are you so sure that I am Suya? Chapter 770. What are you going to do? Chen Mengyan felt that some things had to be faced in the end. Only by daring to face it could she get the most favorable conditions for herself. I'll take one step at a time. Shuya sighed and said, but you can rest assured that I won't do anything to let you down. Chen Mengyan nodded silently. After several contacts, Chen Mengyan felt that Shuya wasn't an overbearing person, so when Shuya said this, Chen Mengyan didn't think that Shuya would lie to her. Do you need me to help you talk to him? Chen Mengyan was sometimes impulsive and would do things that would harm her own interests, but she was willing to do so. Thank you, but I want to talk to him personally. Shuya hesitated and said. Okay, then I won't interfere. Chen Mengyan nodded and suddenly remembered something, so she said, Zhou Jiejia, do you still remember? Zhou Jiejia. Shuya was stunned, then she said with some suspicion, of course, I remember. What about her? If she is now Yang Ming's girlfriend, will you be angry? Chen Mengyan suddenly felt that the grievances between Zhou Jiejia and Yang Ming and Shuya should be resolved by Shuya, but she made the decision without permission. She didn't know if it would make Shuya feel uncomfortable. Her. With Yang Ming. Shuya was a little surprised. She didn't expect that Zhou Jiejia would become Yang Ming's girlfriend. Moreover, in these few meetings, she already knew Qin Mengyan and Lin Jiyun, but she didn't see Yang Ming bring Zhou Jijia out. And, it's her. Qin Mengyan said affirmatively. But, why have I never seen Yang Ming bring her out? Shuya asked, baffled. Because, she can't come out. As Qin Mengyan said this, she sighed sadly. Can't come out? What do you mean? Shuya didn't understand. She's injured. Qin Mengyan said, let's go. I'll take you to see her. I'll tell you the details on the way. Although Shuya didn't hate Zhou Jijia, she definitely didn't have a good impression of her. Although Zhou Jijia's complaint was because she also liked Yang Ming, this approach hurt Shuya a lot. Therefore, at this moment, when Qin Mengyan proposed to meet Zhou Jijia, Shuya couldn't help but hesitate. After all, the meeting between the two might bring a lot of awkwardness. Seeing that Shuya was a little hesitant, Qin Mengyan pondered for a moment and roughly understood, she's injured and hasn't woken up yet. There's no harm in taking a look. Ah! Shuya was shocked. He's injured and hasn't woken up yet. Then. She was injured because of Yang Ming. She took the bullet for Yang Ming. Qin Mengyan originally wanted to talk about it while walking, but seeing that there seemed to be some estrangement between Shuya and Zhou Jijia, she simply said it first. She took the bullet for Yang Ming. Shuya never thought that Zhou Jijia would give up her life for Yang Ming. Although she could do it, Shuya felt that at least she and Yang Ming had a pure relationship, but Zhou Jijia didn't have anything. Yeah, on the way to the hospital, Yang Ming promised her to be her boyfriend and take care of her for a lifetime. Qin Mengyan's voice was a little bitter when she said this. She wasn't jealous of Zhou Jijia, but she was moved. When Shuya heard this, her expression became dignified. In the years that she was away, many things happened around Yang Ming. These were not what she knew. Can you tell me in detail? What the hell is going on? Shuya was eager to understand what happened to Yang Ming over the years. Well, let's talk about it while walking. Qin Mengyan found the waiter, paid the bill, and walked out of the coffee shop with Shuya. Do you have a car? With your current identity, I'm afraid it's not appropriate for you to take a taxi, right? Qin Mengyan was afraid that others would recognize Shuya. Yes, wait a minute. I will call the driver. Shuya came here. Although it was inconvenient to bring a car, she could bring a driver. In the hotel here, she could just rent a car for emergency use. Shuya made a phone call. Soon after, a middle-aged man in his 40s came out from heavenly earth and came to Shuya and Qin Mengyan. Miss Shu, are you going out? Asked the middle-aged man. Yes, Uncle Tao. Can you give us a ride? Said Shuya. Miss Shu, do you need to call a bodyguard? Asked the middle-aged man called Uncle Tao. That's not necessary. I have some personal matters to attend to, said Shuya. Okay. Although Uncle Tao was old, he wasn't old-fashioned. He knew that everyone had some personal matters, so he didn't say anything more. Anyway, they were driving the hotel's car. Who would know that the big star Shuya was sitting inside? Shuya and her group rented a Hummer in the hotel. In fact, it was rented, but there was no charge. Because Heavenly Earth and Ming Yang Entertainment were one company, they were all Yang Ming's businesses. The cockpit of the Hummer was separated from the box at the back, so Shuya and Qin Mengyan were talking at the back, but Uncle Tao couldn't hear them. Therefore, Qin Mengyan told Shuya about the things between Zhou Jijia and Yang Ming. Naturally, it included Zhou Jijia's regret for Shuya and Yang Ming, and it was also full of this young girl's infatuation. Listening to such a sad and moving love story, Shuya, who didn't have much affection for Zhou Jijia, couldn't help but be moved at the moment. Yes, although from the perspective of my own interests, Zhou Jijia hurt me and Yang Ming, Zhou Jie was also pursuing her own love. This was understandable. Moreover, in that era where love and life were hazy, how many people could do something that wasn't childish? Xu Ye nodded. She no longer had any prejudice against Zhou Jie in her heart. After all, if she changed her perspective, if she were Zhou Jie, she might really do the same. Then, when did the doctor say that she would wake up? Xu Ye asked with some sadness. I don't know. The doctor didn't say it well. Chen Mengyan shook her head. In fact, she is really pitiful, you don't have to say it. I understand. Xu Ye waved her hand. Chen Mengyan didn't say anything more. Since Xu Ye didn't object, it meant that she also acquiesced in this matter. She didn't know why, but Chen Mengyan felt that she seemed to have changed a little. Originally, this kind of thing should be decided by her at home. She was Yang Ming's legitimate girlfriend, but because of the appearance of Xu Ye, she began to care about Xu Ye's opinion. According to Chen Mingyan's intention, the car was parked at the inpatient area of the First People's Hospital. Although the new house had been cleaned up, Chen Mengyan was afraid that the decoration materials inside would still have an impact on Zhou Jie's health, so she planned to let it be ventilated for a few days. She took Xu Ye to Zhou Jie's ward with ease. She just saw the special care staff responsible for taking care of Zhou Jie, Auntie Li, pushing the door out. She was holding some garbage and preparing to throw it away. Auntie Li. Chen Mengyan called. Oh. Mengyan, you are here. Auntie Li suddenly showed a smile because she knew that the person in front of her was the one who really paid her. Auntie Li, I brought a friend to see Jie. How is she? Chen Mengyan asked with a smile. Fortunately, you also know, her current situation is like this. Auntie Li said with some sadness, you go ahead. I will go and throw away the garbage. Okay. Chen Mengyan nodded and went into the ward with Xu Ye. The environment in the ward was very good. It gave people a pleasant feeling of brightness, but at the moment, Chen Mengyan and Xu Ye's mood wasn't good at all. Zhou Jie. Xu Ye looked at the thin girl on the bed with some uncertainty. Her face was a little pale. She still looked the same, but at the moment, she was more beautiful. Even though Zhou Jie was sick in bed, she was still very beautiful. Xu Ye couldn't help but be jealous of Yang Ming. Xu Ye, who was extremely confident in her own appearance, couldn't help but feel a little sour when she saw that Yang Ming had so many beautiful women around him. Not to mention Zhou Jie, Chen Mengyan and Lin Zhiyun were first-class beauties. They weren't inferior to her. Especially Chen Mengyan, she could become a celebrity with a little makeup. Did you see it? Chen Mengyan said with some helplessness, Zhou Jie is like this now. She may lie in the bed for a lifetime. In an instant, all the unhappiness in Xu Ye's heart disappeared. Yes, what's the use of arguing with a patient? What's more, who can say clearly about the things that happened to children in the past? The two people stayed quietly in the ward for a while until Auntie Li came back. Chen Mengyan stood up and said, let's go back. It's late. Don't disturb Auntie Li and Jie's rest. Xu Ye nodded and looked at Zhou Jie again. Then, she left with Chen Mengyan. On the way back, Xu Ye was very silent. The former love rival and classmate is going to lie in the bed forever in the future. Is there any possibility of her waking up? Xu Ye was somewhat concerned about Zhou Jie. Yes, the doctor said that Zhou Jie may have something that she couldn't achieve, so she locked herself up. Yang Ming and I tried many times, but we couldn't untie her knot. Chen Mengyan smiled bitterly. The key problem is that Yang Ming and I don't know what her knot is. There is no way to treat the problem. So that's the case. Xu Ye nodded. As long as there is hope, it's fine. Anyway, there is time. We can try slowly. Yeah, Yang Ming and I bought a villa. We plan to take Zhou Jiejia over after school starts. When we have nothing to do, we can spend more time with her. Maybe there will be a miracle. Chen Mengyan said. This is also good. Shuya suddenly moved in her heart. She seemed to have vaguely guessed what Zhou Jiejia's so-called knot was, but she wasn't sure. Chen Mingyan's mood was also very low now. She didn't notice Shuya's strangeness and continued, right, you haven't said it yet. How did you suddenly change your appearance? You know, I have also seen your photos. No matter how a person changes, they won't become the same as two people, right? Chapter 771. This. Shuya hesitated and said, there are some secrets in this. I can't say it. You won't blame me, right? Chen Mengyan shook her head and said, it's nothing. I'm just curious. You don't have to worry about it. Thank you. Shuya smiled at Chen Mengyan's understanding. After all, this matter was related to her biggest secret. Even if Chen Mengyan was a person around Yang Ming, Shuya didn't want to talk about this matter to her casually. Originally, Chen Mengyan was just curious, but since Shuya had a secret, Chen Mengyan couldn't force her to ask. Because of Shuya's identity, the two people couldn't be out for too long. Shuya still had to rehearse tomorrow morning, so after coming out of the hospital, the two parted at the entrance of Heavenly Earth. Originally, Chen Mengyan wanted to tell Yang Ming about Shuya's identity, but since Shuya wanted to say it personally, then she didn't have to do it. Even if Yang Ming knew the truth in the future, he wouldn't blame her. Today, the happiest person was Shuya. From Chen Mingyan's mouth, she learned about Yang Ming's feelings. Although she didn't know if Yang Ming's so-called unforgettable memory was because he missed her, or if he really still had feelings for her, this was already a big gain. At least, her hopes were great. Moreover, after Chen Mengyan recognized her, she didn't have any hostility to her. This also made Shuya really excited. Shuya was very clear about the reality in front of her. Chen Mengyan was already with Yang Ming. This was an established fact that couldn't be changed. No matter how good Yang Ming and I were in the past, it's different now. Therefore, the possibility of Shuya wanting to squeeze Chen Mengyan away from Yang Ming was simply slim. Moreover, Shuya also felt that Yang Ming wasn't a person who could be easily controlled. Yang Ming's cold-bloodedness when killing people and his overbearing attitude of having two girlfriends at the same time made Shuya lose all confidence. The best solution now was for Chen Mengyan to recognize him, just like how she recognized Lin Jiyun. It was enough for him to stay by Yang Ming's side. However, he didn't expect that his wish would come true so easily. Shuya felt that she would laugh out loud even in her dreams tonight. However, Chen Mengyan wasn't so relaxed. Chen Mengyan was a little confused. Shuya's appearance made her feel a great sense of crisis. This was also the reason why she drew Shuya in from the beginning. Chen Mengyan didn't have the confidence to fight against Shuya, so she could only adopt the means of peaceful coexistence. These were all secondary. What troubled Chen Mengyan the most was Yang Ming's intention. Without the appearance of Shuya, Chen Mengyan was very sure that she would be Yang Ming's bride. No matter how many girlfriends Yang Ming had, the one he would officially marry would definitely be her. Now the situation was a bit different. Shuya also had this opportunity. Although Shuya had already expressed her attitude today that she wouldn't do anything wrong to her, and because of work, she couldn't always be by Yang Ming's side. However, Chen Mengyan was still a little worried. When she returned home, she turned on the computer unhappily and surfed the internet. She was a little uneasy, but Chen Mengyan didn't care. She thought that she was worried because of Shuya's matter, although this time was busy, Yang Ming still didn't forget the task that Lan Ling's grandmother gave him. In his spare time, he would monitor the old gatekeeper of Red Flag High School, Uncle Ma Xiaoyao. Even if Yang Ming didn't find anything unusual, since Lan Ling's grandmother had instructed him, then he must pay attention. However, the boring record every day made Yang Ming really impatient. Today, he just happened to pass by Red Flag High School. Yang Ming decided to go to Ma Xiaoyao's place again. Now was the time when the students were on holiday. There was no one in the empty campus. Yang Ming got out of the car and came to the locked gate of the school. He knocked twice. Not long after, he saw Uncle Ma come out with drunken eyes. He shouted as he walked, "Who is it?" "Uncle Ma, it's me, Yang Ming." Yang Ming smiled. "Oh. Yang Ming." Uncle Ma narrowed his eyes and looked at Yang Ming. Then he opened the door lock. "What are you doing here in the middle of the night?" "I was passing by here, so I came to take a look," Yang Ming said. "No way. What do you want from me?" Uncle Ma didn't believe it. "This time, there really isn't." Yang Ming smiled bitterly. "I'm just passing by. I have nothing to do, so I came over to sit." "I knew it. You have nothing to do. Otherwise, why would you come to see an old man like me?" Uncle Ma said suddenly. "Why? Don't you have anything to do?" "That's not it. I just came to thank you for the matter of Wu Qiren last time." Yang Ming said, "Thank you for the clues, but in the end, I couldn't solve the problem." "Why? You haven't found your little girlfriend yet?" Uncle Ma sat back at the table and asked. "No." Yang Ming shook his head and said, "Forget it. This kind of thing needs fate. Sometimes there is no result if you deliberately look for it. It's good that you can think about it. Come, drink with me." Uncle Ma pointed to the wine and dishes on the table. "Okay." Yang Ming nodded. "I just haven't eaten yet. Let's eat together." In fact, Yang Ming wanted to see if he could get some information from Uncle Ma when he was drunk. Unfortunately, Uncle Ma didn't reveal any useful information except for some family matters and anecdotes in school. Although the two chatted very happily, Yang Ming still didn't know much about Uncle Ma. Judging from Uncle Ma's speech and behavior, this was a completely comfortable old man who drank a little wine every day and enjoyed life. After this meal, Uncle Ma was still drunk. It was almost the same as before. There was no sign of drunkenness. However, Yang Ming was a little dizzy. He was swaying a little when he walked. It seemed that this ergotu was strong. Yang Ming was known to not be drunk even with 100 bottles of beer. He actually began to be confused after drinking 2 bottles of ergotu. The car definitely couldn't be driven. Yang Ming didn't want to harm others and himself. Standing in the middle of the road, Yang Ming waited for a taxi, but this road wasn't the main street. Moreover, it was a school holiday. Usually, very few people would take a taxi in this section. There were not many taxis that would detour here to pick up passengers. Occasionally, there would be a few who would pass by here to send off other guests. After Lu Shaoxing sneaked back to Songjiang, he waited for an opportunity to kill Yang Ming. However, there were too many people around Yang Ming every day. It wasn't easy for him to make a move. Moreover, Yang Ming's skills were good. Lu Shaoxing was afraid that he would go for wool and come back shorn. He would be beaten up by Yang Ming. Today, Lu Shaoxing just found a place to eat some food. He had nothing to do, so he was going to find a place to have fun with a prostitute. He stopped a taxi and was preparing to go to a bath center in the city. When he passed by Red Flag High School, he suddenly found Yang Ming's BMW parked at the door. Lu Shaoxing suddenly became spirited and shouted to the driver, "Stop the car." Stop the car. Although the driver didn't understand what was going on, since the guest asked him to stop, he couldn't say anything. He had to stop the car on the side of the road. Lu Shaoxing threw a 20 yuan bill to the driver and got out of the car. He didn't bother with the change. Originally, the driver thought that Lu Shaoxing was crazy. Why did he come to this inexplicable place? However, at this moment, after he got the money, he felt that Lu Shaoxing was very pleasing to the eye. He hummed a song and left here. Lu Shaoxing was looking for opportunities to make a move on Yang Ming every day when he was alone, so he wouldn't let go of any possibility. Seeing that there was no one in the car, Lu Shaoxing found a big tree and hid behind it. This wait was more than 3 hours. Lu Shaoxing was so cold that he shivered. His whole body was stiff, but in order to meet Yang Ming, Lu Shaoxing gritted his teeth and held on. Finally, when Lu Shaoxing was about to lose all hope, Yang Ming came out swaying. Lu Shaoxing smelled the smell of alcohol from afar. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. God is really helping me. The opportunity that I couldn't find finally came. This Yang Ming is drunk now, so it's easy for me to make a move. Lu Shaoxing tiptoed behind Yang Ming. He took out the voodoo tool that was prepared by Yun Guangdou and was ready to cast voodoo on Yang Ming. Although Yang Ming drank too much, his mind was still sober. This was what Fang Tian taught him on the first day. An assassin must always be sober. Otherwise, it would be easy to be killed. Who is it? Yang Ming felt that someone came from behind and suddenly shouted. Lu Shaoxing was shocked. When he saw that Yang Ming discovered him, he quickly activated the voodoo in his hand according to the method and cast the voodoo on Yang Ming. Then, his head was punched, and he didn't know anything in a daze. Yang Ming intuitively felt that the person had a dangerous breath. He was afraid that it would be unfavorable to him, so he made the first move and knocked the person to the ground. Sure enough, he saw that the person was holding an inexplicable thing in his hand and pointing it at him. Yang Ming wanted to check it out, but he suddenly felt a heartache. Bean-sized sweat immediately rolled down. This was definitely not a normal physiological reaction. Yang Ming knew that his body was very healthy. There was no disease like heart disease, so it was impossible for him to suddenly feel heartache. However, at this moment, he was in so much pain that he couldn't describe it. Yang Ming frowned. He couldn't help but wonder if this person did something to him, but the severe pain made his will become more and more faint. His vision became a little blurred. Yang Ming covered his chest and knelt on the snow by the roadside, gasping for breath. Finally, Yang Ming couldn't hold it anymore. He fell down and soon lost consciousness. Lu Shaoxing, who was beside him, also fainted quietly there. Chapter 772. After sending Yang Ming away, Mu Xiaoyao sighed and said, "This is dangerous. Ordinary people can't easily get involved. I didn't say anything to you because it's for your own good." Ma Xiaoyao cleaned up the garbage on the table and threw it into the trash can. He picked up the key to the door and walked out to lock the door. As he walked to the gate, he couldn't help but be stunned. Not far from the gate, there were actually 2 people lying down. One of them was Yang Ming, who had just drunk with him. Could it be that he drank too much and fainted here? Ma Xiaoyao didn't take it seriously. He quickly walked to the front of Yang Ming. As he was about to help Yang Ming up, he suddenly saw something that he was familiar with. It was quietly thrown on the ground. Ma Xiaoyao frowned and picked up the voodoo utensil on the ground. He looked at it carefully and smelled it. Then, he quickly turned Yang Ming's body over. When he saw Yang Ming's pale face, he was shocked. He quickly carried Yang Ming and ran back to the hut where he was on duty. After a little groping on the wall, the wardrobe by the bed made a slight caw-caw sound. The wardrobe slowly moved to the side. Behind the wardrobe, there was a small door. Inside the small door was a staircase that led to the underground. Ma Xiaoyao carried Yang Ming down and came to a long and narrow room. He put Yang Ming on the bed in the middle of the room. After testing Yang Ming's breathing, Ma Xiaoyao secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He pulled out a small box from under the bed and hurriedly opened it. He took out a bottle of potion and sprinkled it under Yang Ming's nose. After doing all this, Ma Xiaoyao returned to the school gate. His intuition told him that this voodoo utensil was brought by the other young man lying on the ground. Ma Xiaoyao picked up Lu Shaoxing from the ground and carried him into the room. Then, he tied him with a rope and threw him in a corner. Just now, the potion that Ma Xiaoyao sprayed on Yang Ming could only provide relief. It couldn't really detoxify the voodoo. It still required a lot of effort to detoxify the voodoo. Ma Xiaoyao carefully examined the remaining things in the container and poured a few unknown potions into it. After that, he carefully examined Yang Ming's body and couldn't help but sigh, so vicious. Fortunately, he was poisoned by another type of goo poison previously. The two types of goo poison played a restraining role. Otherwise, even a golden immortal wouldn't be able to save him now. Since he knew the type of voodoo, it was easy for Ma Xiaoyao to solve it. After all, he was an expert in this field. Although it was laborious, after more than an hour of treatment, Yang Ming finally spat out some black and smelly things. Ma Xiaoyao breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that Yang Ming was saved. He found a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. Then, he laid him flat on the bed. After an unknown amount of time, Yang Ming slowly woke up. He opened his eyes and looked at the situation in front of him in surprise. This is a strange place. Yang Ming suddenly remembered what happened before. I was attacked from behind. I don't know what that person did to me. Although I gave him a fierce blow afterward, I couldn't hold on and fainted. Where am I? Could it be that I have been caught by someone? Thinking of this, Yang Ming struggled to get up from the bed. You're awake. Ma Xiaoyao walked in from outside the house. He just went to check on Lu Shaoxing's situation. He was afraid that Lu Shaoxing would wake up, so he gave him some knockout pills. It was estimated that Lu Shaoxing wouldn't wake up for at least 10 hours. When Yang Ming heard a familiar voice, he couldn't help but feel a little strange. He looked up and saw Uncle Ma smiling at him. He couldn't help but be shocked. Could it be that Ma Xiaoyao found out that I was monitoring him and took measures against me? Thinking of what Grandma Lan Ling said before, he couldn't help but be shocked. If Ma Xiaoyao is really a bad guy, then am I not in danger? Yang Ming secretly began to be alert. Seeing Yang Ming's nervous look, Ma Xiaoyao couldn't help but smile and said, You just had voodoo. Although it was removed, you'd better rest at this moment. Voodoo. Yang Ming was stunned, then he recalled the situation just now. It seems that it is really possible. However, did Ma Xiaoyao save me? Yang Ming wondered, did you save me? Now, some things couldn't be hidden, so Ma Xiaoyao didn't hide it anymore. Yes, I saved you. You saved me. You know how to detoxify voodoo. Yang Ming looked at Ma Xiaoyao in surprise. Ma Xiaoyao nodded affirmatively and said, I know how to detoxify voodoo. That is one of the reasons. However, the voodoo that you have today is very strong. If you didn't have another voodoo in your body that formed a restraint with it, you would probably die on the spot tonight. Ah! Yang Ming's heart trembled. Only Lan Ling's grandmother, and a few people around him knew that he was poisoned with another voodoo. Ma Xiaoyao couldn't know. So now there was only one possibility. That was, Ma Xiaoyao really knew voodoo, and he was really poisoned with voodoo. He wasn't lying to him. You have been monitoring me for a long time, right? Ma Xiaoyao said with a smile. How do you know? Now Yang Ming didn't know whether Ma Xiaoyao was an enemy or a friend. Although he detoxified voodoo, who knew if he had any ulterior motives? I can naturally see it. Ma Xiaoyao smiled and said, but you don't have to worry. I have no malice to you. Who are you? Yang Ming was still very vigilant. It's fine to tell you now. It seems that you have been involved in the dispute of that force. Ma Xiaoyao sighed. I didn't want you and Ling Ling to participate in the grievances of our older generation, but it is impossible. Ling Ling. Are you talking about Lan Ling? Yang Ming looked at Uncle Ma in front of him inconceivably. Who are you? How do you know Lan Ling? My real name is Lan Hai. Who do you think I am? Ma Xiaoyao changed his sleepy appearance and replaced it with a shrewd and capable look. His eyes were full of vigor. He was a different person from before. Lan Hai. Yang Ming was surprised. He stared at Uncle Ma in front of him inconceivably. This person is actually Lan Hai. Isn't that Lan Ling's grandfather? Ma Xiaoyao nodded and said, that's me. You are Lan Ling's grandfather. Then, why did Lan Ling's grandmother ask me to monitor you? Yang Ming still didn't believe Uncle Ma's words. The Miao people are proficient in voodoo, but our branch is also proficient in disguise. My current appearance isn't my original appearance. It's just an image that is smeared with flour, said Ma Xiaoyao. Yang Ming frowned and looked at Ma Xiaoyao's face with his special ability. Indeed, there was another face before his current face. It was exactly the same as the photo that Yang Ming saw in Lan Ling's grandmother. Yang Ming believed Ma Xiaoyao's words and determined that the person in front of him was Lan Hai. If it were other people, they might not believe it because Ma Xiaoyao's disguise was too realistic. There were no flaws at all. If he didn't have special abilities, it wouldn't be so easy to see it. After confirming the true identity of Ma Xiaoyao, Yang Ming didn't dare to neglect. He quickly said humbly, Grandpa Lan. Lan Hai smiled and said, I will tell you sooner or later, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. I was afraid that the forces over there would be unfavorable to you and Ling Ling, so I have been hiding it. Now it seems that it is time. Then why didn't you tell Lan Ling's grandmother that you were here? She thought that you... Yang Ming paused for a moment before falling silent. It's not that I didn't want to tell, but the people over there have never stopped chasing me. I was afraid of implicating Lan Ling's grandmother and Lan Ling, so I had to lurk here secretly and wait for the opportunity to give a fatal blow to the enemy. Lan Hai sighed. Although the preparation is not very good, it is almost done. I also probably determined the person who provoked the internal strife in our tribe. Is there anything I can help with? Asked Yang Ming. The people I want to deal with are not ordinary people. They are proficient in voodoo. I'm afraid you can't deal with them. Lan Hai shook his head. It's good that you have the heart. Protecting yourself is the most important thing. Fortunately, you are lucky today. Otherwise, you would die in front of my door. My precious granddaughter will never forgive me in this life. Yang Ming listened to Lan Hai's words and could only nod helplessly. Indeed, no matter how strong he was, he couldn't deal with voodoo that he wasn't proficient in. Suddenly, he remembered the person who attacked him before. Yang Ming quickly asked, Grandpa Lan, is the person who attacked me still there? I caught him back. He is in the next room, said Lan Hai. I suspect that this person is the force of the other side. The voodoo method he used is the method of our tribe. I am very sure of this. Yang Ming was stunned because he vaguely saw the face of the person who attacked him. It was an acquaintance. It was Yun Guangdou's driver, Lu Shaoxing. How did he become a person of another force? Do you know that person? Lon Hai asked in his heart. Maybe he could find out all the forces of the other side in Songjiang by following this clue. This person is the driver of Yun Guangdou, the owner of Yun Jewelry Company. He had some conflicts with me before. Yang Ming said truthfully. Yun Jewelry driver. Lon Hai was also stunned. He originally thought that the people of that force found out about the relationship between Yang Ming and himself. They wanted to make a move on Yang Ming, but he didn't expect that things didn't seem to be like this. There were other secrets. Yeah, I beat up that Lu Shaoxing before. He was the person who used voodoo on me. This time, he probably came to retaliate against me. Yang Ming said, what's more, my company is also in the jewelry business. There are some business conflicts recently. So, he is targeting you. It's not because of Ling Ling. Lon Hai also fell into contemplation. Chapter 773. Yang Ming didn't expect that Lu Shaoxing was actually a person from Lon Hai's hostile forces. He only thought that he was sent by Yun Guangdou. Probably not. Yang Ming shook his head and said, if I didn't hear you say that there was such a relationship, I wouldn't have thought that Lu Shaoxing had other identities. It turned out to be like this. Maybe I thought too much. So, you go back first and take Lu Shaoxing with you. See if you can get some useful information from his mouth. Lon Hai said, however, no matter what you can ask in the end, this person can't be left alive. If you can't do it, send him to me. Yang Ming couldn't help but laugh. I can't do it. If it were an ordinary person, there might be some concerns, but killing a person had no psychological burden for Yang Ming, not to mention this person who wanted to kill himself. Yang Ming would not be soft-hearted. Yang Ming didn't say much. He just nodded. After such a struggle, even the alcohol in his stomach was spat out. Yang Ming was sober and no longer drunk. Today's matter, don't tell Ling Ling's grandmother. She came to see me early, and it was easy to expose the target. If the opponent found out, it would not achieve the effect of a surprise victory. Lon Hai said. I understand. I will treat it as if nothing happened. Yang Ming said. Well, if there is something, you can come to me. I don't think anyone will be suspicious. Next time, bring me a few bottles of good wine. Lon Hai said. Don't worry, Grandpa Lon. I will get you a box. Yang Ming smiled and nodded. Dragging Lu Shaoxing, who was tied up like a dumpling, Yang Ming said goodbye to Lon Hai and left the secret room. Lu Shaoxing was thrown into the trunk, and Yang Ming drove to the nightless club. Although Yang Ming now had a lot of places to go, he still habitually went to the nightless club to interrogate someone. On the way, he called Bao Sanli and asked him to send someone to pick him up. However, when Yang Ming arrived at the nightless club, he saw Bao Sanli standing at the door. Yang Ming was somewhat helpless, but he couldn't help it. This represented Bao Sanli's respect for him, and he couldn't say anything. Brother Yang, you are here. Bao Sanli saw that Yang Ming had parked the car, so he walked over. Well, there's a person in my trunk. Get one of your men to carry him up and find a room. I want to interrogate this person. Yang Ming instructed. All right. For Yang Ming's instructions, Bao Sanli would not ask much. He simply called an underling to carry the people in Yang Ming's trunk and prepared an empty room. There were many such rooms in the nightless club. There was nothing inside, only a sofa. Yang Ming sat on it, while Lu Shaoxing was casually thrown on the ground. Brother Yang, do you need to find a basin of cold water to wake him up? Bao Sanli asked in a low voice. No need. Yang Ming smiled and shook his head. He was drugged. He can't wake up without the antidote. As Yang Ming said this, he took out a small medicine bottle from his pocket and handed it to Bao Sanli. Go and give him the pill inside. This was the antidote that Lan Hai gave him before he left. After taking it, Lu Shaoxing could wake up immediately. Bao Sanli took the medicine bottle, poured out the pill inside, and fed it to Lu Shaoxing. After a while, Lu Shaoxing woke up in a daze. When he looked up, he saw Yang Ming sitting opposite him and looking at him with a smile. He couldn't help but be shocked. Why aren't you dead? Yeah, I'm not dead. Isn't it strange? Yang Ming snorted. Tell me, why do you want to kill me? How is it possible? How can President Yun's voodoo have no effect? Logically, you should have died long ago, right? Lu Shaoxing still had an inconceivable look as he muttered to himself. Yang Ming listened to Lu Shaoxing's words and couldn't help but be amused. This kid is really stupid. Although he didn't answer the question directly, he knew from the side that Yun Guangdou sent him to kill him. Don't worry about whether it's possible or not. I'm not dead now, and you fell into my hands. What do you think will be waiting for you? Yang Ming interrupted Lu Shaoxing's words. After listening to Yang Ming's words, Lu Shaoxing suddenly became dispirited. He was very clear about what was waiting for him. He didn't succeed in killing the other party. How would the other party let him go easily? However, Lu Shaoxing still had a glimmer of hope. He was a timid person. Naturally, he didn't care about loyalty, so he immediately said, Brother Yang, you are a great person. Can you not kill me? It's President Yun. President Yun ordered me to kill you. Why do you want to kill me? Asked Yang Ming. Because you and President Yun snatched a woman, and then you became a competitor of Yun Jewelry, so President Yun hated you to the bone and wanted to get rid of you quickly. Lu Shaoxing said quickly. Oh. Just because of this? Asked Yang Ming calmly. Yeah, it's because of these. Lu Shaoxing nodded. Looking at Lu Shaoxing's appearance, it didn't seem like he was lying. Yang Ming secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that he guessed correctly. Yun Guangdou dealt with him only because of Sun Jie's matter and business. It had nothing to do with Lan Ling and Lan Hai. You used voodoo on me before, right? Yang Ming suddenly asked. I heard that voodoo can't be used on ordinary people casually. Also, how do you know these things? Who are you? This. Lu Shaoxing listened to Yang Ming's words, but he hesitated. After all, he was now a traitor like Yun Guangdou. Even if Yang Ming didn't kill him, Elder Yu wouldn't let them go if the matter was exposed. Why? You don't want to say it? Yang Ming frowned. No. Seeing that Yang Ming was angry, Lu Shaoxing was shocked. His life was now in the hands of others, and he couldn't help but say it. If he didn't say it now, Yang Ming might kill him immediately if he was angry. But if he said it, Elder Yu might not find him. So, he clenched his teeth and said, Yes, I am from a tribe in Yunnan's Miaojiang, but I have now betrayed the tribe. Oh. Betrayal? What do you mean? Tell me what you know, and I may let you live. Otherwise, I will directly ask someone to throw you from upstairs. Yang Ming said. Which floor is this? Lu Shaoxing didn't know if he was humorous or slow-witted, but he actually asked such a question. The third floor. Bao Sanli replied. For some topics that were not very sensitive, Yang Ming didn't hide it from Bao Sanli. After all, he now regarded Bao Sanli as his own confidant. The more Bao Sanli knew about him, the more he wouldn't dare to have any disloyalty. Lu Shaoxing's eyes turned, and his heart began to move a little. The third floor, I don't think I will die from falling, right? Bao Sanli looked at Lu Xiaoxing's shifty-eyed look. How could he not know what he was thinking? So, he added coldly, if you don't die from the fall, then fall again until you die. Oh my God! Lu Xiaoxing was shocked. How can it be like this? If I don't die from the fall, then fall again. He shivered and didn't dare to have any other thoughts. He replied carefully, President Yun and I were sent to Songjiang by the tribal elders to secretly investigate some things here. What's the matter? Asked Yang Ming. Investigate whether the original patriarch of our tribe is alive or dead. Lu Xiaoxing didn't hide it and said directly. Yang Ming nodded. It seemed that this Lu Xiaoxing was still honest and didn't hide anything. However, the things that Yang Ming knew were limited. It was better to return him to Lan Hai and let Lan Hai get some valuable things from his mouth. Bao Sanli was confused. What tribe? What elder? These things that were far away from him made him feel like he was listening to a book. Bao Sanli thought that Yang Ming was just asking casually, and he didn't care about these insignificant things. Well, I will take you to see a person. Whether you can leave here alive or not depends on whether you are honest or not. Yang Ming said to Lu Xiaoxing. I will be honest. I will be honest. Lu Xiaoxing said quickly. Yang Ming shook his head funnily. This guy is a coward. His courage is pitiful. He sent him back to Lan Hai. As for how Lan Hai would deal with him, it had nothing to do with Yang Ming. When he returned home, Yang Ming took a shower. When he took off his clothes, he saw a text message on the phone. It was sent by Chen Mengyan. Yang Ming, where are you? Chen Mengyan just felt that her chest wasn't very comfortable, so she called Yang Ming, but no one answered. She sent a text message to Yang Ming. Looking at the messages and missed calls, they were probably from when he fainted. Yang Ming returned a text message to Chen Mengyan, telling her that he was at home. He just fell asleep and didn't hear the phone call. Fearing that she would be worried, Yang Ming didn't say anything about the attack before. It didn't take long for Chen Mengyan to reply. She said that since Yang Ming was fine, then she was relieved and wanted to sleep. Yang Ming said good night and went to take a shower. Yang Ming quickly put Lu Xiaoxing's matter behind his mind. Now he was worried about Valentine's Day. Since Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun got along well, it was okay to go out together on Valentine's Day. But what about Xiao Qing? What about Sun Jie? Sun Jie was fine. She wouldn't care about these. However, although Xiao Qing didn't say it, Yang Ming knew that she still cared about it. This made Yang Ming a little troubled. He couldn't divide it into a few days like Chinese New Year. It seemed that if it really didn't work, he could only accompany Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun first. As for Xiao Qing and Sun Jie, he could only think about it another day. Yang Ming sighed and thought that he hadn't contacted Xiao Qing for a while, so he picked up the phone and dialed Xiao Qing's cell phone number. Hello. After a while, Xiao Qing's lazy voice came from the phone. She should be resting now. Sister Xiao Qing, I am Yang Ming. Yang Ming said apologetically, am I disturbing your rest? Oh. Yang Ming, it's so late. Why are you calling me? What's the matter? Xiao Qing's voice became a lot more energetic. Chapter 774. Nothing. I just missed you, so I wanted to hear your voice. Yang Ming said. Really? Xiao Qing obviously didn't believe it. You called me so late just for this. What else? Yang Ming smiled. I have been very busy after Chinese New Year. I didn't go to see you. What are you talking about? I'm not a child. If you have something to do, just do it. I saw a lot of unfavorable news about the jewelry company recently. Dad also asked me to ask you what happened when I was free. Do you need his help? I didn't expect you to solve it yourself. Xiaoqing said. Right, Sister Xiaoqing, how do you want to spend Valentine's Day? Asked Yang Ming. Valentine's Day. Hee hee. Xiaoqing smiled after listening. Do you really want to ask me how to spend it? Yang Ming was also afraid that Xiaoqing would feel uncomfortable in her heart, so he asked this question. However, he also knew that it was impossible to leave Qin Mengyan alone and go out with Xiaoqing. After listening to Xiaoqing's question, he couldn't help but be embarrassed. He said, yeah, you don't have enough confidence. Hee hee, you should accompany Qin Mengyan. I don't want to be scolded by the world. Besides, can't we go out together at any time? Why do we have to spend such a conspicuous holiday like Valentine's Day? Do you want your parents to know? Xiaoqing said. Hee hee. Yang Ming's heart was relieved. He thought that Xiaoqing understood him, but his mouth said, what are you afraid of? Okay, I won't argue with you. I really have an appointment on Valentine's Day. Even if you ask me out, I'm not free. Xiaoqing said. Ah. You have an appointment. This time, it was Yang Ming's turn to be stunned. Although he felt guilty that he couldn't accompany Xiaoqing on Valentine's Day, if Xiaoqing went out with others, how could Yang Ming feel good in his heart? Yeah, you can't spend Valentine's Day with me. Can't I spend it with others? Asked Xiaoqing. You, who are you going with? Asked Yang Ming nervously. I won't tell you. Xiaoqing deliberately angered Yang Ming. I have to have some privacy, right? Besides, I'm your god sister now, not your girlfriend. Yang Ming shook his head. It was rare for Xiaoqing to complain to him. However, Yang Ming knew Xiaoqing's character. He knew that she was still quite rational. It was impossible for her to casually go out with a man. Could it be that she was accompanying godparents? Thinking of this, Yang Ming quickly asked, are you going to accompany godfather or godmother? Of course not. Xiaoqing denied, well, stop guessing. I'm going to sleep. I'm so sleepy. Okay. Then you rest. Yang Ming had a question mark in his heart. He reluctantly hung up the phone. Valentine's Day. Last night, Yang Ming confirmed with Lin Jiyun and Qin Mengyan that he would pick them up early in the morning, and then the three of them would go to the beach together. Unexpectedly, Tian Donghua called and asked Yang Ming what arrangements he had for Valentine's Day. He wanted to come and join in. Since Tian Donghua had asked, Yang Ming couldn't refuse. Besides, even if he said that he didn't have any arrangements for Valentine's Day, Tian Donghua had to believe him. It was better to tell him the plan generously. Anyway, it would be more lively with more people. Tian Donghua naturally shamelessly wanted to go with them. Yang Ming could only count him in. First, he drove to Qin Mengyan's neighborhood. Qin Mengyan appeared at the entrance of the neighborhood on time. Today, Qin Mengyan wore a high school woolen coat. When she was chatting with Yang Ming a few days ago, Yang Ming accidentally mentioned that Qin Mengyan's coat was very beautiful. At that time, Qin Mengyan only wore it for a few days and never wore it again. Yang Ming wondered why. Qin Mengyan explained that this coat looked a bit mature and didn't look like a student's, so she didn't wear it after that. But now that she was a college student, there was no need to worry about it. So, at Yang Ming's request, Qin Mengyan went home and found this coat. Qin Mengyan trotted to Yang Ming's car, opened the door of the passenger seat, and sat in. Anyway, she didn't get in the car with Lin Jiyun today. Qin Mengyan didn't deliberately sit in the back. Does this coat look good? Qin Mengyan asked Yang Ming after getting in the car. What's so good about this coat? Yang Ming snorted. Chen Mengyan was almost mad when she heard it. She was about to explode on the spot, but Yang Ming continued, the key is that the person looks good. My Mengyan looks good in any clothes. You are sensible. Chen Mengyan rolled her eyes at Yang Ming. However, you look better without wearing it. Yang Ming added another sentence. You go to hell. Chen Mengyan was a little dumbfounded. Yang Ming's mouth was flirtatious. He used to be like this when he was in school. When they arrived at Lin Jiyun's door, Yang Ming called Lin Jiyun and wanted to tell her that they were almost there. However, the person who answered the phone was Xin Weiping. Hello, Yang Ming, I'm your Auntie Shen. Auntie Shen, where is Jiyun? Yang Ming was a little puzzled. Why would Xin Weiping answer the phone? Yang Ming, Yunair suddenly had a stomachache this morning. I'm afraid she can't go out with you, said Xin Weiping. Ah. Stomachache. What happened? Is it serious? Wasn't she fine yesterday? Yang Ming was shocked and asked with some surprise. It's okay. It's the kind of pain that girls feel. Xin Weiping hinted, Yunair just fell asleep. She said that if there was a phone call, she asked me to help her answer it, if that's the case. Yang Ming frowned. Well, then tell Jiyun to have a good rest. Definitely. When Yunair wakes up, ask her to call you. Xin Weiping said. Okay then. Yang Ming sighed and hung up the phone. What's the matter? Chen Mengyan also heard the general idea. Sister Lin has a stomachache. Let's go and see. It doesn't seem to be the case. Yang Ming frowned and guessed Lin Jiyun's thoughts. Jiyun probably doesn't want to come out with us on Valentine's Day. Why? I'm very good to her. Chen Mengyan was afraid that Yang Ming would think too much, so she quickly explained. I know, but Lin Jiyun's character. Yang Ming hesitated. Forget it. Let's go. I will ask her alone another day. Sure enough, Yang Ming's guess wasn't wrong. After a while, Lin Jiyun sent a text message. The text message said, I'm fine. Don't worry. Have fun with Sister Mengyan. Yang Ming handed the phone to Chen Mengyan. Chen Mengyan was also silent. She knew that Lin Jiyun was afraid that it wasn't good for the three of them to spend Valentine's Day together, so she deliberately found an excuse not to participate. Then, when we come back, you take Sister Lin out to play alone. Chen Mengyan said apologetically. I know. Yang Ming nodded. Well, Jiyun is like this. Let's be happy. Tian Donghua and the others have probably arrived. He let Tian Donghua rent a small yacht in advance. Although it was winter and the sea breeze was still a bit cold, it was also very enjoyable to look at the sea in the yacht. When Yang Ming came to the seaside pier, he saw that Tian Donghua's car had already stopped there. Tian Donghua drove a Toyota Land Cruiser with a Donghai license plate. Yang Ming wasn't very interested in Japanese cars, but this car was relatively good. I don't know how the matter between Tian Donghua and Wang Shui was resolved, but today, the two people at least didn't have any difference on the surface. They had a loving expression. Yang Ming. Tian Donghua got out of the car and waved to Yang Ming. You came quite early. Yang Ming took Chen Mengyan's hand and walked to Tian Donghua. He nodded politely to Wang Shui. No matter what, she was Zhou Jiejia's good friend. Moreover, even if Wang Shui went behind Tian Donghua's back to have an affair, it was Tian Donghua's family matter. It had nothing to do with Yang Ming. The four people walked in the direction of the pier and came to the boat rental office by the pier. I am Tian Donghua. I rented a boat here yesterday. Now we are ready to board. Tian Donghua said to the staff at the rental office. Wait a minute. Let me check. The staff nodded and began to check on the computer. After a while, he said strangely, Sorry, sir, this is not registered for you. Not registered for me. How is it possible? Tian Donghua was stunned. He took out the receipt from his pocket when he booked the boat yesterday and handed it over. You check it again carefully. Okay. The staff glanced at the order number and then checked it again. However, after checking, he said, Sir, the boat you rented was registered on the computer by someone else. It is not in your name. Tian Donghua frowned and pointed to the receipt in his hand. My receipt can't be fake, right? Did you make a mistake? The staff carefully looked at the receipt in Tian Donghua's hand. There was the seal of the rental office on it. It should not be wrong, but why didn't the computer show it? The staff turned and went into the inner room and called the manager out. Manager, there is a customer here who rented a boat that is not displayed on the computer. What do you think? Asked the staff. Oh. Let me see. A middle-aged man with a big belly came out and took the receipt handed over by Tian Donghua. He looked at it and said, This, I know. His boat was rented to someone else. You return the deposit to him. When Tian Donghua heard it, his face immediately pulled down. The boat was rented by him. Now, in front of so many people, especially Wang Shui, he couldn't back down. How could he just let it go? Although the temper of the Tian family's eldest young master was not as arrogant as the second son, Tian Dongguang, it wasn't very good. Otherwise, he wouldn't have seriously injured others because of a woman. Returning the deposit is fine. I booked the boat first, and you rented it to someone else. Is there first come, first served? Tian Donghua was unhappy at the time and asked with a sullen face. Renting or not renting is up to me. The boat is mine. What can you do if I don't rent it? The manager didn't take Tian Donghua seriously. However, after contacting the staff around Shuya a few times, he didn't find any good opportunities. Nothing to do with me. Are you worried about the ship? Ouyang Junyuan looked at Tian Donghua jokingly. Then, he took out a receipt from his pocket and said, I have booked your ship. Ha 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 ha. When Ouyang Junyuan came to rent a ship, there was no ship. However, he wasn't very interested in taking a ship. Just as he was about to give up, he suddenly saw Tian Donghua's name on the registration sheet on the table. He immediately found the manager and gave him a lot of benefits in private. Then, he successfully bought the ship that Tian Donghua rented. When Tian Donghua heard Ouyang Junyuan's words, his face turned green. After a long time, it was this kid who made trouble. However, he couldn't make the call no matter what. Ouyang Junyuan's identity was very special. It could be said that he was similar to Tian Donghua. Although Tian Donghua didn't deal with him, it wasn't to the point where they had to shed all pretense of cordiality. What's more, this was Songjiang, not Donghai. If they really made trouble, Tian Donghua couldn't take much advantage. Ouyang Junyuan also expected this, so he seemed to be a little unscrupulous in his actions and words. He whistled and looked at Tian Donghua proudly as he stomped his feet. Whether the Sun family instructed the Tian family to go to Province P to fight the Ouyang family, or the Ouyang family dispatched troops to Donghai, they wouldn't get any benefits. After all, it was the other party's territory. Their own battlefront, supply lines, and interpersonal relationships couldn't keep up. It was difficult to do anything. It was because of this that the two families only had small frictions and didn't really have a large-scale conflict. Ouyang Junyuan's finger was cut off by Yang Ming. Although he wanted to retaliate, he wasn't stupid. He knew that the power of the Ouyang family wasn't enough to penetrate here, so he could only endure and find another opportunity. However, Ouyang Junyuan also understood that he had offended Sun Hongjuan's daughter, Sun Jia, last time, so one of his fingers was cut off. The Sun family didn't seem to dare to take his life, so Ouyang Junyuan forgot the pain after the scar healed. When he saw a beautiful woman, he ran out to show off. Ouyang Junyuan was proud, but in a blink of an eye, he saw Chen Mengyan. When he looked closely, it was the girl who sang with Shuya on the stage that day. His lust was suddenly aroused. The power of Ouyang Junyuan's family couldn't penetrate here, so he didn't get the VIP ticket for the first concert. He watched from the back of the audience. As for the next few concerts, the VIP tickets weren't tight. Ouyang Junyuan got a few. But the later concerts weren't as grand and interactive as the first concert. The program of singing with the fans didn't appear again. Hello, beauty. My name is Ouyang Junyuan. I have seen you and Shuya sing together. Ouyang Junyuan turned his head and began to strike up a conversation with Chen Mengyan. Oh, hello. Chen Mengyan didn't know the conflict between Ouyang Junyuan, Dong Ming, and Tian Donghua, but it could be seen from the incident of robbing the boat that there was a conflict between this person and Tian Donghua, so Chen Mengyan was particularly cold. Beauty, he can't do it anymore. Now the boat is booked by us. How about it? Are you interested in playing with me? Ouyang Junyuan looked at Chen Mengyan lecherously and sized her up. Her figure was really good. Her chest was just right. It was neither too big nor too small. It was the best. Chen Mengyan saw that this person couldn't be reasoned with at all. She simply didn't bother to say anything to him. She turned her head and ignored him. However, Ouyang Junyuan didn't have any self-awareness. Seeing that Chen Mengyan ignored him, he still shamelessly approached. I forgot to introduce myself. I am the chairman of Zhongqiu Film and Television Culture Company, Limited. I see that beauty has the potential to be a star. I can guarantee that I can make you an international superstar no less than Shuya. Save it, idiot. Yang Ming coldly interrupted Ouyang Junyuan's words. Can you change to something else besides this set of words? Don't you know that you can easily get beaten up for what you say now? You motherfucker. When Ouyang Junyuan saw that someone dared to scold him, he suddenly became angry. However, after seeing Yang Ming's face, he was suddenly shocked. He pointed at Yang Ming and opened his mouth. How come it's you? Because Sun Jia wasn't here, Ouyang Junyuan didn't think that Yang Ming would be here. After all, today was Valentine's Day. They were all couples. Yang Ming also had girls around him, so Ouyang Junyuan didn't pay much attention to Yang Ming. At this moment, when he saw Yang Ming talking, he looked carefully and was shocked. To be honest, Ouyang Junyuan was still quite afraid of Yang Ming. Although he swore in his heart that he would tear Yang Ming into pieces one day, that was one day, not now. I think you don't have a good memory. Do you feel that you have too many fingers and want to lose a few? Yang Ming looked at Ouyang Junyuan's hand that was missing a finger with some mockery. Ouyang Junyuan's face immediately became very bright. He wanted to tear Yang Ming into pieces on the spot, but he had suffered a loss last time. This time, although he also brought people, he couldn't guarantee that Yang Ming and Tian Donghua didn't have people around them. If they really fought, it probably wouldn't end well. After weighing the pros and cons, Ouyang Junyuan snorted coldly. He said to the few followers behind him, "Let's go." Wait. Yang Ming waved his hand in front of Ouyang Junyuan. What do you want? Ouyang Junyuan was secretly alert. The person in front of him was like a madman. Ouyang Junyuan was alone. It wasn't a wise move to provoke him. Although Ouyang Junyuan didn't have great wisdom and courage, he wasn't a fool. He had already suffered a loss last time. How could he suffer a second time? Leave the boat, and you can go. Yang Ming said in a commanding tone, otherwise, you have to bear the consequences. In the face of such a blatant threat, Ouyang Junyuan's lungs were about to explode, but there was no way. His face was definitely lost today. He wanted to humiliate Yang Ming, but he didn't expect Yang Ming to be here too. For Yang Ming, Ouyang Junyuan was very afraid. He hesitated again and again. He put the bill in his hand on the window of the rental office, then he turned and left quickly. He was cursing in his heart. Aren't you arrogant? Then I will let you be arrogant for a few days. After a while, I will show you. Although I can't trouble you openly, there will be assassins to kill you. No matter how good you are at fighting, you won't be the opponent of a professional assassin, right? Ouyang Junyuan's calculation was very good, so he chose to temporarily retreat. Tian Donghua was a little surprised. Why was Ouyang Junyuan so afraid of Yang Ming? He left with a few words and even left the boat ticket. To be honest, if it weren't for Yang Ming, Tian Donghua would really be embarrassed today. Tian Donghua was also impulsive just now, so he put down the ruthless words. However, when he really picked up the phone, he realized that this was Song Jiang, not Dong Hai. Even if he called someone, it would take a long time for them to come over. At that time, half of Valentine's Day would have passed. Fortunately, Yang Ming came forward to solve it, so that Tian Donghua wouldn't be able to clean up the mess. The manager who was in the inner room was naturally called out by the employee, Xiao Zhang, to watch the previous scene. He found that the young master who gave him money yesterday had left, and he was shocked. Yesterday, Ouyang Junyuan was a rich and powerful young master. Now that he had suffered, wouldn't the two in front of him be even more untouchable? The manager secretly regretted that he had just misjudged. This manager wasn't a fool. He understood the key to the whole thing after thinking about it. It must be that these young masters didn't deal with each other. This Tian Donghua was probably evenly matched with that Ouyang Junyuan. They couldn't do anything to each other, so Ouyang Junyuan spent more money to snatch Tian Donghua's boat yesterday. Today, Ouyang Junyuan couldn't afford to offend this person, so Ouyang Junyuan left with his tail between his legs. Thinking of this, the manager quickly smiled and said to Yang Ming and Tian Donghua, both of you, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I shouldn't have rented your boat to others, so I decided to waive the bill to compensate for my previous mistakes. That's it. Yang Ming didn't look up and asked faintly. Then. The manager knew that Yang Ming wasn't a good person, and he suddenly hesitated. It seemed that today's matter wouldn't be over so easily. What do you think? Yang Ming didn't have any interest in dealing with such a small character. He spoke just now because he saw Ouyang Junyuan. Tian Donghua's anger at the moment had disappeared. Like Yang Ming, he didn't want to bother with this small character, so he asked Wang Shui, what do you think? Then forget it. Wang Shui didn't want Valentine's Day to become a fight. Seeing that these people didn't intend to bother with him, the manager suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Then you have fun. I won't bother you. In addition, I will give each of you a VIP card. You can enjoy a 20% discount when you book a boat at any time. Yang Ming nodded and waved his hand. You find someone to take us on board. The manager quickly found the best pilot under him and boarded the boat with Yang Ming. Yang Ming learned how to drive a boat when he was in Europe, but at this moment, he was here to enjoy, so he wouldn't take the initiative to drive the boat. What's more, if he drove the boat, what would Chen Mengyan do? Maybe it was because the manager and the pilot had instructed something, so the pilot was respectful since he boarded the boat. He was even very careful when he spoke. Yang Ming couldn't get over it, so he said, "Buddy, you don't have to be like this. I don't like your manager. That's a matter between me and him. It has nothing to do with you. You can do what you want to do. Don't be so restrained. It makes me a little uncomfortable." When the pilot started, he didn't dare to. He answered whatever Yang Ming asked. Of course, Yang Ming asked more about the knowledge of boat driving. Although Yang Ming learned how to drive a boat, he didn't learn it carefully because of the hurry. He just took advantage of the time to ask about some practical things. Seeing that Yang Ming was very easygoing, the pilot also became bold and began to talk and laugh. The cruise ship gradually sailed to the depths of the sea. "Let's go to the deck and look at the sea," Chen Mengyan suggested as she looked out of the window with some fascination. "Okay." Wang Shui was the first to respond. Girls were always very emotional. Yang Ming and Tian Donghua were more inclined to look outside from the cabin. After all, it was very warm inside, and the sea breeze outside was bitterly cold. Yang Ming and Tian Donghua, of course, couldn't ignore the nature of the beauties. The four of them went to the deck outside the cabin. The blue of the sea in winter was extraordinarily pure. Walking on the deck, Yang Ming really admired Chen Mingyan's suggestion. Looking at the sea here was really different. Regardless of whether it was his senses or his mind, there was a sense of relaxation and relaxation. The slightly salty air made Yang Ming have a feeling of returning to nature. "The feeling here is so good," Chen Mengyan said sincerely. "After living in Songjiang for so many years, this is the first time I came to see the sea in winter. Yeah, it's different from the noise in summer. The sea in winter has its own benefits." Yang Ming turned his head and saw Chen Mingyan's little face that was flushed by the sea breeze. He couldn't help but feel a little restless. Yang Ming gently hugged Chen Mengyan. He thought, no wonder the two people on the Titanic had sex directly. The state of mind here is really different. Chen Mengyan didn't refuse and closed her eyes slightly. She knew what Yang Ming would do to her. Even if she didn't know, with the two examples of Yang Ming, Tian Donghua and Wang Shui, she understood everything. The two guys had already hugged and kissed each other, ignoring Chen Mengyan and Yang Ming. Yang Ming smiled slightly. He gently held Chen Mingyan's face and kissed her. Chen Mingyan's breathing immediately became rapid. After a long time, the two separated. Their eyes met, and they smiled knowingly. Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan knew in each other's hearts that if Lin Jiyun came together, then the three people wouldn't be able to let go. Tian Donghua and Wang Shui weren't afraid of fainting. They actually kissed together. Yang Ming coughed twice, but it didn't have any effect. He couldn't help but shake his head. He took Chen Mingyan's hand and walked to the other side of the deck. With a whistle, the cruise ship slowly stopped. The pilot ran from the cabin to the deck and shouted to Yang Ming, "Brother Yang, the offshore club is in front. Do you need to eat?" Offshore club? What is that? It was the first time Yang Ming heard of this thing. It is a place where a businessman from Macau invested in and built a place that combines leisure, dining, and entertainment. In fact, it is a giant cruise ship that is parked in the middle of the sea to provide these services. The pilot introduced. "Oh. Then let's go and have a look." Yang Ming was a bit curious. He had seen a cartoon called One Piece. There was a restaurant on the sea in it. He didn't expect there to be such a thing in reality. Okay. The pilot ran back to the cockpit and started the cruise ship again. It didn't take long for the outline of a giant cruise ship to appear not far away. As Yang Ming and the others got closer, the face of the giant ship was completely revealed. What a luxurious and majestic cruise ship. On one side of the cruise ship was the dock for docking. At this moment, there were many large and small yachts and motorboats docked. When Yang Ming's ship approached, there was immediately a security guard who took the microphone to give instructions. At this time, Tian Donghua and Wang Shui had just recovered from the kiss. They looked at the giant ship in front of them and wondered, how did we come here? Meng Yan and I are starving. We planned to eat something, but I guess you two are full from eating each other's saliva. Yang Ming teased. Tian Donghua and Wang Shui immediately felt a little embarrassed. Wang Shui immediately blushed. Let's go and eat something together. Yang Ming greeted the pilot. No, Brother Yang. I have burger here. The company has regulations. We can't leave the ship. The pilot waved his hand and said, thank you. Yang Ming no longer forced it because every industry had its rules. Since the pilot said so, he didn't have to force anything. Welcome to the Sea Club. When Yang Ming and the others boarded the deck of the giant ship, the waiters standing on both sides immediately bowed and greeted them. From the deck to the interior of the cruise ship, even Yang Ming, who had seen a lot of the world, couldn't help but be moved. The decoration inside was too luxurious. It was just like a palace. He didn't know where the design was, but it had a strong European style. Sir, madam, are you here for dinner or entertainment? As soon as they entered the door, a full-time private waiter came over. Let's eat first. We'll talk about the rest after the meal. Yang Ming didn't eat in the morning, so he was hungry at this time. Okay, please come with me. The waiter said. Right, is there a single room? Yang Ming asked casually. Sir, please wait a moment. I will help you ask. The waiter took out the walkie-talkie and said something. After a while, there was an answer. The waiter said to Yang Ming after listening, there are still single rooms, but there are only a few luxurious ones left. The ordinary small rooms are occupied. No problem. Take us there. Yang Ming was not sensitive to the price. Valentine's Day couldn't be too shabby, right? Okay. The waiter nodded and took Yang Ming and the others to an elevator. The elevator was transparent inside and outside. They could see the sea view outside and the facilities in the cabin. However, the elevator went down, not up. When the elevator completely descended, Yang Ming and the others were already in the deep sea. Through the glass of the elevator, they could see the sea scene outside. There were even some sea fish swimming around. The luxury private rooms were similar in design. They could directly see the sea view outside. A group of sea fish swam around, making the people in the room feel like they were in the sea. This design really gave people a novel feeling. It's like an aquarium here. Chen Mengyan curiously leaned on the wall of the private room and looked at the small fish swimming in the sea. She praised, it's so beautiful. Yeah, the environment here is really good. Wang Shui couldn't help but nod. What would you like to eat? The waiter saw that Yang Ming and the others were very satisfied, and he was very happy. After all, the satisfaction of the guests was directly related to his bonus. It's our first time here. Get us some special dishes. Yang Ming was already very hungry, and he was too lazy to look at the menu one by one. Even if he looked at the menu, he didn't know what was good and what wasn't. It was better to let the waiter recommend. In order to make Yang Ming and the others become repeat customers, the waiter couldn't simply recommend some rubbish. The waiter nodded and left the room to prepare. Yang Ming and Tian Donghua sat on the sofa. Chen Mengyan and Wang Shui were still looking at the swimming fish outside curiously. Yang Ming, can we also build an apartment on the sea in the future? Chen Mengyan had fallen in love with the environment here. Okay, but isn't it a bit too lonely for the two of us? Yang Ming smiled. Chen Mengyan was stunned, and then she understood Yang Ming's meaning. She complained, "I didn't say that others can't live here." Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan were naturally talking about Lin Jiyun, Zhou Jiejie, Lan Ling, and the other girls, but Tian Donghua didn't know. He said shamelessly, "Me and Wang Shui also benefit from it." Yang Ming was speechless, but looking at his face full of expectation, he didn't want to discourage him too much. He had to say, "Okay, no problem. Anyway, who didn't know how to draw a pie? Let's talk about it when it's built." Sure enough, the dishes recommended by the waiter were good. They looked, smelled, and were very unique. Yang Ming and the others couldn't stop praising them. After the meal, the four of them had nothing to do, so they decided to stroll around the cruise ship to see if there was anything fun. The waiter here was the kind of person who worked from the beginning to the end. From the time he received Yang Ming and the others, he was responsible for all the services for Yang Ming and the others in the offshore club until Yang Ming and the others left. "What do you all want to play?" asked the waiter. "What is here? You also know that we are here for the first time. We are not familiar with this place. Why don't you introduce it to us?" said Yang Ming. "There is a bowling alley, a gym, an electronic game hall, a billiard room, a swimming pool, and a deep-sea diving pool, etc." The waiter introduced. "I heard that you have this here." Tian Donghua suddenly interrupted and made a dice-throwing action. The waiter's face changed, but then he returned to normal. "Sir, what are you talking about?" "Casino. Don't tell me that you don't know." Tian Donghua smiled. "Sir, are you kidding me? How can we have a casino here?" The waiter shook his head and said with a smile, "We are not a gambling ship. Maybe you have watched too many Hong Kong movies. Okay, don't play dumb with me. You ask your boss if he knows Tian Dongguang." Tian Donghua also heard his brother mention this place by chance. He said that there was a casino here. It was very cool. It was similar to the Macau casinos on TV. Although Donghai also had some underground casinos, Tian Donghua had not been to a large scale. After listening to Tian Dongguang, his heart was naturally itching. How could he not take a look this time? The waiter was stunned and did not dare to neglect. He quickly took out the walkie-talkie and said a few words to it. Then, he transferred it to the manager of the club. "President Nya, I am Xiao Lu, the receptionist in the hall number 063. A guest asked me to ask you if you know Tian Dongguang." The waiter reported. "Oh. Second young master Tian." When the lobby manager heard the name of Tian Dongguang, he immediately said, "Of course, I know him. What's the matter?" "President Nya, he said that he wanted to go to the casino." The waiter lowered his voice. If it weren't for Yang Ming's good eyesight, he really couldn't hear what he said. "Oh. Wait for me. I will go and see it myself." "Where are you?" President Nya didn't dare to neglect. After all, not just anyone could enter the casino. Otherwise, if everyone knew about it, it would be over sooner or later. Although the Tian family's power was in Donghai, and President Nye's offshore club was in the Sea of Songjiang, President Nye would never offend the local power. After all, he came here to make a fortune. If he really provoked these underworld people, then his business would definitely not be peaceful. Therefore, when the second young master of the Tian family came to play, President Nye not only waived the bill, but also gave Tian Dongguang some casino chips for his entertainment. For the local power of Bao Sanli, President Nye was even more careful. Not only did he give a lot of monetary gifts every year, but he also often sent some VIP cards and reception vouchers. However, Bao Sanli and Ho Jinhan didn't have the leisure to take a boat to his place for entertainment. Now, he didn't know what the relationship between the person below was with the second young master of the Tian family, Tian Dongguang. President Nya didn't dare to neglect. He went down to see it personally to make a decision. Soon, President Nya came to the private room. He glanced at the waiter and looked at Yang Ming and the others present. He smiled and said, "I am the general manager here, Nya Dayu. May I ask how many of you? My name is Tian Donghua. I am Tian Donghuang's brother." Tian Donghua said directly. Just now, when he was renting the boat, Tian Donghua felt that he lost face in front of Wang Shui, so he quickly found a way to get it back. Ah! Nya Dayu was stunned, and then immediately smiled. It turns out to be young Master Tian. I'm sorry for not recognizing you. Why didn't you say earlier that you were coming? I would have welcomed you personally. No need. I just heard from Little Guang that the casino here is very cool. I want to see it, said Tian Donghua. Sure. I will send you there. Nya Dayu said quickly. For Yang Ming, he didn't ask much. He thought that Yang Ming was a friend with Tian Donghua, but his identity was definitely not as powerful as Tian Donghua. Otherwise, why did he only mention Tian Donghuang before? Yang Ming didn't know that Nya Dayu would send a lot of gifts to the Mingyang Security Company during the holidays, so he wouldn't say much. He wasn't a person who liked to show off. Nya Dayu personally sent the 4 people to the casino on the top floor. From the outside, it looked like the office of the offshore club's management. In fact, more than half of it was the casino, and a small part was the office. Yang Ming wanted to exchange chips, but Nya Dayu quickly said that it was not necessary. He directly took out 1 million chips and gave them to the few people. Although 1 million wasn't a big amount, it wasn't small either. Yang Ming secretly thought that Nya Dayu knew how to conduct himself. Coming here isn't very good, right? After all, Chen Mengyan had a strict upbringing since she was a child. Because of Chen Fei's special identity, she was somewhat unnatural when she entered the casino. Just treat it as accompanying Tian Donghua and the others. If you don't like it, just watch for a while. Yang Ming knew that Chen Mengyan was very repulsed by these things, so he smiled and persuaded her. Okay. Yang Ming said so. Chen Mengyan didn't want to be too maverick and dampen the mood of others. Tian Donghua didn't care. He pulled Wang Shui to play roulette. Yang Ming only left a few chips, and the rest were given to Tian Donghua. Are there any games that aren't very gambling? Yang Ming saw that Chen Mengyan wasn't interested, so he asked the waiter next to him. There is real-time Liuhe lottery and Hong Kong horse gambling over there. Sir, you can go and see. The waiter pointed not far away. Oh. You can bet on horses here. Yang Ming was stunned. He said to Chen Mengyan curiously, do you want to go and see? Horse gambling. Chen Mengyan was very repulsed by gambling, but she was relatively less repulsed by horse gambling. After all, in the Hong Kong TV series, horse gambling appeared as a legal thing. Since it was legal, then Chen Mengyan didn't have so many thoughts in her heart. What's more, Chen Mengyan also wanted to see what horse gambling looked like, so she nodded and said, okay, then let's go and see. Please come with me. The waiter accompanied Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan to the horse gambling table. This might be a branch of a peripheral dealer of the Hong Kong horse farm, so they could directly bet. How is it? Are we betting? Yang Ming looked at the live TV screen and asked Chen Mengyan. Let's see first. Chen Mengyan shook her head. Chen Mengyan was a more rational person. She wouldn't lose her mind because of these things. Okay. Yang Ming nodded. In fact, Yang Ming didn't have the certainty to win. His current ability was X-ray vision. He couldn't predict the future. For gambling like horse racing, Yang Ming was basically the same as others. It was purely a guess. Thinking of this, Yang Ming couldn't help but think of one thing. That was, when he saw Wu Ming destroy the BMW's brake system, he seemed to have foreseen the future. Also, at that time, when he was at Chen Fei's house, he suddenly saw Su Daji being killed with blood all over his body and abandoned on the abandoned construction site. Yang Ming also knew a little about his own potential ability, but he couldn't use it skillfully. Therefore, this special ability was the same as not having it. Number 3, number 3, number 3, number 3, number 8, number 8, number 8, number 8, suddenly, there was a burst of noise around him. It turned out that this round of horse racing had begun. Those who had bet were cheering for their favorite horses. Looking at the noisy scene around him, Yang Ming smiled bitterly. Gambling can actually make a person so excited and happy. If I can't win in many gambles, will I be like them and have this kind of gambler's mentality? Before Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan bet, there was a burst of exclamations not far away. Yang Ming wanted to look up, and the waiter next to him said to Yang Ming, "Mr. Tian is playing with others." Oh! Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Tian Donghua to actually be playing with others. It seemed that the scene wasn't small, so he said to Chen Mengyan, "Let's go and see." Okay. Chen Mengyan was originally curious about horse racing, but after watching for a while, she found that it was just a so-so. She lost interest. Anyway, she would do whatever Yang Ming said. Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan walked over to the noisy people. They saw Tian Donghua and a young man sitting on both sides of the gambling table. The young man looked very calm with a smile on his face, while Tian Donghua was a little excited and anxious. Yang Ming could tell at a glance that the young man was a veteran at the gambling table, and Tian Donghua, a rookie, lost to others in terms of momentum. "Your chips are gone. Do you still want to compete?" The young man smiled and said calmly. "Of course, why not? Do you think I don't have money?" Tian Donghua frowned. He didn't want to lose in front of Wang Shui, so he wanted to win to save his face, but he lost a few rounds in a row and lost all the chips in his hand. "I didn't mean that. I just think that gambling is fun, but it's not interesting if you gamble until your eyes are red." The young man shrugged. Although what he said was very reasonable, Tian Donghua felt that it was unusually harsh. He said with a red face, "Don't say that. I will call someone to send the money. Let's continue to play." Nie Dayu was on the side. How could he call Tian Donghua's people to send money? He smiled slightly and said, "Young Master Tian, I will call someone to bring another 1 million chips." Chapter 776. Tian Donghua nodded and accepted Nie Dayu's kindness. However, he also understood in his heart that the power of the Tian family couldn't affect Song Jiang, so Nie Dayu was completely taking care of the Tian family's face. However, this 1 million was the limit. If he lost again, Nie Dayu wouldn't give him any more money. Yang Ming didn't know why Tian Donghua was competing with the young man, but it seemed that the two people didn't seem to know each other, and there was no resentment or hatred. Soon, 1 million chips were placed on the table on Tian Donghua's side. After Tian Donghua got the chips, he said, "Let's continue." "Okay, but let's make a deal. We have chips on each other's table. Whoever loses all of them will end the bet. I didn't come here to gamble. I came here to relax." The young man spoke very appropriately and politely. Tian Donghua looked at the chips on the young man's side. In addition to the chips that he had just won, there were still more than 1 million, which meant that the other party's chips were twice as much as his own. After hesitating, Tian Donghua nodded. "Let's play big or small this time. How about it?" They were just playing 5-card stud, but Tian Donghua saw that the other party had more chips than him. He was afraid that the other party would use this to suppress him from betting, so he proposed to change the game. The young man on the opposite side didn't care. He shrugged and said, "It's up to you. Anyway, it's just a game." The rules of the big or small game were very simple. Each person drew a card from the deck, and then turned it over to see whose card was bigger. Each bet was 100,000. "What's going on?" Yang Ming whispered to Wang Shui on the side. Wang Shui was also very helpless. She shrugged and said with a helpless expression, "When we were playing roulette, the young man was also there, but the young man's luck was very good. He won a few rounds. I just casually said that his luck was better than yours." As a result, Tian Donghua was narrow-minded. He wanted to compete with that person to see whose luck was better. Yang Ming was dumbfounded. He didn't expect it to be because of such a small matter. In this regard, Tian Donghua was really not very manly. He was really narrow-minded. However, this also reflected that Tian Donghua cared about Wang Shui very much. Perhaps it was because Tian Donghua's luck was not good today. Ever since he had trouble renting the boat in the morning, he started to have bad luck. He lost more than he won. In the blink of an eye, he only had 200,000 chips left. At this moment, Tian Donghua's face was flushed. It was obvious that he was nervous. Yang Ming found it funny. The Tian family was also a big family. The Tian family's young master was actually flushed with embarrassment because of this little money. However, according to Tian Donghua's prideful character, he would not give up even if he lost these chips. Yang Ming shook his head and decided to help him. He patted Tian Donghua's shoulder from behind and smiled, "Old Tian, let me play a few rounds for you." Tian Donghua was depressed. Why was his luck so bad? He suddenly turned around and saw Yang Ming. When he heard that Yang Ming wanted to replace him, he nodded and agreed without thinking. Tian Donghua was also afraid that he would lose all his chips. When the time came, his face would be ruined. However, it was nothing if Yang Ming replaced him. If he lost, it would be Yang Ming's loss. Tian Donghua would not be too embarrassed. If he won, it would be better. Anyway, they were on the same side. They would share glory together. So Tian Donghua stood up and gave his seat to Yang Ming. Yang Ming smiled and sat down. He said to the young man opposite him, "I will play a few rounds for my friend. Do you mind?" "Of course." The young man nodded. "Your friend is a little excited. He should calm down." Although the young man was telling the truth, Tian Donghua was still very upset after listening. He snorted and hoped that Yang Ming would defeat him. The dealer brought a new deck of poker cards and opened it for Yang Ming and the young man to check the cards. Then, he began to shuffle the cards. After that, the back of the poker cards was spread on the table. "Why don't you go first?" the young man said to Yang Ming. In this kind of competition, the person who drew the cards first had a higher chance of winning than the person who drew later. After all, the biggest ace of spades was only one. The first round was purely for Yang Ming to test his hand. He didn't take it seriously at all and didn't use his special ability. Anyway, he still had 200,000 yuan in his hand. Even if he lost 100,000 yuan, he still had a chance to win it back. Yang Ming drew a poker card and put it in front of him. The young man was surprised by Yang Ming's decisiveness. He nodded approvingly and drew a card. The two people turned over the cards in front of them almost at the same time. As a result, Yang Ming had a 3 of grass in his hand, and the young man got a 10 of hearts. The young man won. Yang Ming only had 100,000 yuan of chips left. The second round began. Yang Ming didn't dare to neglect this time. This time, he let the young man draw first. Yang Ming saw that he drew a jack of clubs, so Yang Ming casually drew a king of diamonds. Naturally, Yang Ming won. In the next few rounds, Yang Ming began to maintain the momentum of winning more and losing less. In the blink of an eye, there were more chips in front of him. Yang Ming wasn't a fool. He wouldn't win every round. If that was the case, it wouldn't be luck, but a problem. However, Yang Ming now won twice and lost once. No one would doubt anything. Let's do this. Now that the chips in both of our hands are about the same, let's just decide the winner in one round. If we play like this, it is estimated that one day is not enough. Yang Ming played for a while and was a little annoyed, so he suggested. The young man also saw that Yang Ming's luck was much better than the previous one. It wasn't easy to beat Yang Ming, so when Yang Ming made this suggestion, the young man hesitated and nodded. Well, let's decide the winner in one round. No matter who wins or loses, let's not play anymore, okay? Of course, no problem. Yang Ming shrugged and said, you should see that I'm not a gambler. Okay, then who will draw first? Asked the young man. It doesn't matter. You go first. Yang Ming said to the young man. Well, since the rules are set by you, then I will draw first. The young man didn't refuse. Because the suggestion to decide the winner in one round was put forward by Yang Ming, it was normal for him to draw first. This time, the young man was obviously more cautious than the previous few times. When the dealer shuffled the cards, he began to stare at the cards in his hand. When he drew the cards, he was also very careful. After fumbling for a while, he drew a card from the deck. Because it was the last round, there was no need to hide it, so after the young man drew the card, he directly showed it on the table. The audience was in an uproar. Even Chen Mengyan, who didn't care much about this, couldn't help but let out an sound. Tian Donghua even showed a helpless expression. It was because the young man actually drew an ace of spades. In other words, this was the biggest card in this deck. Nothing could be bigger than this. In other words, the winner of this game was already decided. There was no need for Yang Ming to draw any more cards. Seeing his own card, the young man smiled and said, sorry, thanks for letting me win. Yang Ming didn't expect the young man's last luck to be so good that he could draw such a card. He secretly regretted why he didn't draw first. However, when Yang Ming wanted to give up, he suddenly saw a card in the deck. Suddenly, a sly smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. So, Yang Ming casually drew a card from the rest of the cards. Yang Ming's action made everyone think that he had given up. Tian Donghua was even more depressed as he scolded, it's really bad luck. He actually still lost. Yang Ming glanced at the card in his hand. Although he didn't have to do this at all, he already knew the content of the card. However, he did this to deceive the others. After Yang Ming looked at the card, he slammed it back on the table. He turned his head and said to Nye Dayu on the side, President Nye, is there any music? President Nye was stunned and said, what music? It's the music when the god of gamblers, Gao Jin, won the World King of Gamblers tournament. Yang Ming said seriously, the specific point is that when everyone thinks that the god of gamblers has lost, he will turn the tables and then start to play that piece of music. What? President Nye had an inexplicable expression. Why play this music? You don't understand this, right? If you play this music, I can win. Yang Ming had a matter-of-fact look on his face. Nye Dayu listened to Yang Ming's inexplicable request and was suddenly in a dilemma. He didn't know what Yang Ming meant. Was he joking, or did he really want to do this? In other words, Yang Ming's mental state was not normal. The others also looked at Yang Ming as if they were looking at a fool. The outcome was already decided. They didn't know what Yang Ming was still doing. They thought that Yang Ming was making a last-ditch effort, and they couldn't help but look at him with contempt. However, they didn't know that the more he acted like this, the more they looked down on him. Forget it. If there isn't, I will do it myself. Yang Ming stood up and said, actually, I am the apprentice of the god of gamblers, Gao Jing. Ah. Everyone was in an uproar. I have two senior brothers, Dao Zi and Xing Zi. You can call me Yang Zi. Yang Ming didn't stop until his words were shocking. In a while, you can shout, Yang Zi, I love you. Everyone was stunned. Even the young man on the other side had a stunned expression on his face. Okay, everyone look carefully. Yang Ming suddenly stood up and turned the poker card in front of him. Pa, the poker card was turned over, but the audience was frighteningly quiet. They looked at the card that Yang Ming turned over inconceivably. Because this card was actually the substitute card in the poker card. The so-called substitute card was actually a white card with the 4 colors of spades, hearts, clubs, and diamonds printed on it. There was an empty space next to the colors for the players to fill in the numbers. This was prepared by the manufacturer so that if a player accidentally lost a certain card in the deck, they could use it as a temporary replacement. Every deck of cards would have one of these cards. Chapter 777. When the cards were shuffled just now, although the dealer had already taken out the substitute card and the king and queen, there were actually 2 substitute cards in this deck due to the carelessness of the worker. Yang Ming saw the substitute card in a desperate situation, so he didn't hesitate to draw it. From the perspective of the use of the substitute card, this card could represent any card. The young man was the ace of spades, so Yang Ming's card could also be the ace of spades. From the perspective of the rules, if the card that Yang Ming drew was a discarded card, then this game naturally didn't count. President Nye, who do you think won this game? Yang Ming looked at President Nye, whose jaw almost dropped. This. President Nye also began to be troubled. How do we determine the winner? Yang Ming's substitute card shouldn't have appeared here, but now it appeared, then the game was really a bit difficult to determine. Then he turned to the dealer with a sullen face. What's going on? The dealer also looked troubled. Boss Nye, I've already removed the 3 extra cards. Who knew that there would be an extra substitute card in the deck? President Nye glanced at the 3 cards on the left-hand side of the dealer. They were all placed there quietly. He also knew that this couldn't be blamed on the dealer. It could only be blamed on the carelessness of the factory's workers. Song Jiang didn't and couldn't have a poker card manufacturer that specialized in supplying casinos, so the poker cards purchased by casinos were only purchased in bulk from a popular card factory, so it couldn't be blamed on others. Hee hee. Seeing that Nye Diyu was troubled, Yang Ming smiled indifferently. This isn't the dealer's fault, but the carelessness of the card factory's workers. Then this game is invalid. Let's play another game. The young man on the other side also had a helpless expression on his face. What was supposed to be a sure-win game had actually turned out to be such a rare and strange situation. However, there was no other way. Now, he couldn't say that he had one. The other party had a substitute card, so it was what it was. It could also be used as the ace of spades, so this game could only be cancelled. The young man nodded and smiled bitterly. Okay, then let's play another round. I hope it won't be the same situation again. The dealer was much more careful this time. When he checked the cards, he carefully checked them. After making sure that there was nothing unusual, he began to shuffle the cards. After shuffling them a few times, he put the cards on the table for the 2 of them to choose from. Why don't you go first? Yang Ming made an inviting gesture. He didn't believe that a person's luck could be good enough to draw the ace of spades twice in a row. If that was really the case, then Yang Ming was willing to admit defeat. Because he had to admit that the young man opposite him was the god of gamblers. Sure enough, this time the young man's good luck was gone. He drew a card that almost made Yang Ming cramp from laughing. It was actually the smallest card in the deck, 2 of diamonds. These 2 rounds were really extreme. It turned from the biggest to the smallest in an instant. However, this time, the young man didn't rush to open the cards. He didn't look at the cards after he drew them. He just put them on the table. It was probably because he was too proud of the previous round, but he didn't win in the end. He lost some face, so this time he simply kept a low profile. Yang Ming smiled slightly. His bad taste rose again. He reached out and touched a 2 of clubs, then he turned it directly on the table. Ah! The audience suddenly burst into an uproar. Yang Ming's card could be said to be one of the best small cards in the deck. Yang Ming also showed a disappointed look. This round was the same as the previous round. This was the same as the previous round, if there was no accident like the previous round. However, that kind of accident couldn't happen every time. Not to mention that this time, Yang Ming turned the cards first. Even if there was an accident, this accident could only appear on the young man's side. However, just when everyone thought that it was impossible, this accident happened. Even the young man himself had a slight smile on his face, thinking that he was going to win this time. The young man leisurely turned the card in front of him, and everyone suddenly showed a strange expression. The young man was shocked and quickly looked down at his card. As a result, his jaw almost dropped. How is this possible? What he had gotten was actually the card with the smallest suit in the deck. The young man almost went crazy. Although Yang Ming's card was very small, it happened to be bigger than the only one in his hand. Everyone, don't be too surprised. I have just said that my true identity is actually the disciple of the god of gamblers. Yang Ming boasted shamelessly. Everyone naturally didn't believe it, but because of these 2 coincidences, they also sighed in their hearts that Yang Ming was so lucky that he could win like this. Among them, the most helpless one was the young man himself. If Yang Ming's card was slightly bigger, then his loss would not be unjustified. However, Yang Ming's small card restrained him, making him really depressed to his grandmother's house. You won, I lost. However, the young man's self-restraint was still very good. He didn't forget what he said before. Regardless of the outcome, this was the only round. He pushed all the bets on the table to Yang Ming and said, "You are a very interesting person. If you don't mind, how about becoming friends?" The disciple of the god of gamblers, Gao Jing, Yang Zai. Hee hee. Yang Ming's impression of the young man was also very good. If he didn't cheat, he would have lost the previous round, so Yang Ming's heart was still slightly guilty. He stood up and reached out to the young man. "What god of gamblers?" "I just said it casually to adjust the atmosphere. My name is Yang Ming. Nice to meet you. Huang Rongjin, from Singapore." The young man smiled and shook hands with Yang Ming. "I'm also very happy to meet you. Anyway, your gambling skills have opened my eyes." Seeing that the outcome was determined, and the 2 were still talking and laughing, Niediyu suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. It was not uncommon for 2 groups of people to fight at the gambling table, but it was rare to see such harmony. "I'm just lucky." Yang Ming waved his hand. "I don't know how Mr. Huang appeared here. Are you traveling?" "Hee hee, one of my good friends is a fan of Shuya. He took me to watch the concert, but my musical talent is not good, so I can only spend time alone in this C club." Huang Rongjin spread his hands and said, "I see, but I have to leave with my friend now. I'm afraid I don't have time to talk to Mr. Huang. Yang Ming said apologetically. It's okay. This is my business card. If you have time to go to Singapore, I will be a good host. Huang Rongjin politely handed over his business card. Yang Ming took it and glanced at it. The title on the business card was a company's consultant. With Huang Rongjin's generosity, it was estimated that this was his family's business, and Huang Rongjin was just a name on it. I'm a student. I don't have a business card, but I still know some friends in Songjiang. If Mr. Huang has something, you can call me. As Yang Ming said this, he used his mobile phone to dial Huang Rongjin's mobile phone number. Okay, sure. Huang Rongjin saved Yang Ming's number. He didn't doubt what Yang Ming said. Since Yang Ming could enter this casino, it meant that Yang Ming couldn't be just an ordinary student, so it was normal for his family to have some power in Songjiang. However, you don't have to call me Mr. Huang. That is too distant. Since you are still in school, then I must be a few years older than you. I will call you little brother Yang. You can call me Brother Huang or just call my name directly, Rongjin. Brother Huang is too polite. I will call you Brother Huang. Yang Ming nodded and smiled. The reason why Huang Rongjin said so much to Yang Ming was that he had a good impression of Yang Ming. Yang Ming was different from the previous Tian Donghua. Although his behavior was a bit weird, he didn't really take winning or losing the gambling game as a matter of fact. Huang Rongjin could still see this, and Yang Ming's unruly character was also very suitable for him. Huang Rongjin was also such a person. Otherwise, he couldn't ignore his family business and prefer to collect rare items. After chatting for a while, they left. For the chips on the table, when Yedayu asked Yang Ming if he wanted to convert them into cash or store them in the card, Yang Ming smiled and said, "Forget about it. The capital was originally taken by President Nye, and the income belongs to the casino." After saying this, Yang Ming remembered that this gambling game was originally made by Tian Donghua, so he turned back and said, "Old Tian, you won't blame me for making a decision on my own, right?" "How can I?" Tian Donghua shook his head. Yang Ming finally won the gambling game. Tian Donghua also breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, his group didn't lose face, and he could get out of the embarrassing situation. At this time, Nye Dayu couldn't help but look at Yang Ming a lot more. Although the 3 million yuan on the table was nothing to him, it was an astronomical figure for an ordinary family. Yang Ming didn't care at all. Recalling the calmness at the gambling table before, Nye Dayu increasingly believed that this Yang Ming's family was definitely not ordinary. Listening to his words to Huang Rongjin, it could be understood that he was a native of Songjiang, and he had some power. Nye Dayu's nature as a businessman immediately wanted to see if he could get closer to Yang Ming. Although Yang Ming said that he didn't want it, how could Nye Dayu be so inconspicuous? He gave a look to his underling, and someone was responsible for this matter. Not long after, a bank card was handed to Nye Dayu. "Mr. Yang, this is what you just won. At the same time, this credit card is also a membership card of our offshore club. With this card, you can enjoy VIP treatment here." Nye Dayu handed the bank card to Yang Ming. The same card was also handed to Tian Donghua, but there was no money in it. Yang Ming saw that the other party had already done it properly, so he couldn't not give face. He took the card, thanked, and put it in his pocket. Chapter 778. That's it. Thank you for President Nye's warm hospitality. We still have something to do, so we will leave first. Brother Huang, call me if you need anything. Yang Ming smiled and said goodbye to President Nye and Huang Rongjin. As they were talking, Huang Rongjin's phone suddenly rang. Yang Ming didn't care. He made a gesture to Huang Rongjin and prepared to leave, but he saw Huang Rongjin's face change. What? You said that little Ji was caught. What happened? Yang Ming lifted his leg and was about to leave. When he heard Huang Rongjin say this, he couldn't help but slow down and look back. Obviously, Huang Rongjin's friend was in trouble. Since Yang Ming had a good talk with him, it was not good to leave immediately. He was going to wait and see if there was anything he needed help with. I got it. Don't worry. I'll be there right away. Huang Rongjin instructed on the phone. What's wrong? What happened? When Huang Rongjin hung up the phone, Yang Ming asked with concern. Sorry, Brother Yang. My friend has a problem. I have to go there quickly. I don't have time to accompany you. Huang Rongjin said anxiously. Do you need help? Asked Yang Ming. My friend is a fanatic fan of Shuya. Isn't today Valentine's Day? As a result, he bought a large bouquet of roses with his follower early in the morning and went to the hotel where Shuya stayed to wait. He thought that Shuya would not come out, but Shuya came out. My friend ran up to give the flowers. As a result, he was pulled away by the security guard next to him before he saw Shuya's face. My friend had a bad temper, so he had a physical conflict with the security guard. As a result, he was detained and threatened to be sent to the police station. Huang Rongjin smiled bitterly. His follower called me. I'm going to see if I can spend some money to settle the matter. I don't want the other party to make a big deal out of it. It's not a big deal, so I won't trouble Brother Yang. After all, it was the first time they met. Although the two people got along well and felt that each other's character was good, Huang Rongjin couldn't trouble others directly. If that's the case, then that's fine. If you really can't do it, then you can call me again. Yang Ming thought that this wasn't a big deal. He probably didn't need to show up to solve it. Huang Rongjin nodded and left in a hurry. On Valentine's Day, Shuya didn't arrange a concert. In this special festival, although Shuya wanted to spend it with Yang Ming, she also understood that Yang Ming must be accompanying Chen Mengyan at this moment. How could he accompany her? It was meaningless to stay in the hotel. She suddenly thought of Zhou Jiejie, her former love rival. However, since she met Zhou Jiejie with Chen Mengyan that day, Shuya had no prejudice against her. Shuya wouldn't care about a person who was sick in bed, but she was somewhat envious of Zhou Jiejie. In any case, Zhou Jiejie would eventually win Yang Ming's love through her own efforts, but what about herself? It seemed that he was not as good as Zhou Jiejie. Shuya shook her head with some self-deprecation. She suddenly had the urge to go to the hospital to accompany Zhou Jiejie. The former love rival, maybe after she woke up, the two people would become good friends. After all, if they lived under the same roof in the future, friends were always better than enemies. Undoubtedly, Yang Ming was a very overbearing person. Although Yang Ming's character was not so clear in junior high school, now Shuya really realized Yang Ming's overbearingness. Therefore, Shuya wouldn't be stupid enough to do anything to be jealous. It would only make her more passive. Yang Ming would be very disgusted with a girl with such a character. Shuya found her agent, Su Li, and told her that she was going to the hospital to visit a friend. Su Li naturally couldn't interfere with Shuya's itinerary. She was just busy helping Shuya prepare the car and found a few bodyguards to accompany her. Ji Xiaohe was a fanatic fan of Shuya, and he had reached the point of madness. Of course, his fanaticism for Shuya wasn't because he wanted to possess Shuya, nor did he have any improper thoughts about Shuya. Ji Xiaohe's feelings for Shuya were the kind that came from the heart. She was like a goddess that couldn't be profaned. He bought this bunch of roses for Shuya today without any other intention. He just wanted to express his love for Shuya. For his young master's crazy fan behavior, Ji Xiaohe's follower, Wang Shili, couldn't do anything. He had to accompany the young master to wait at the door of the hotel. Young master, how can Shuya just go out casually? Let's not wait. Wang Shili advised. How do you know? Are you Shuya's agent? Ji Xiaohe glared and said disapprovingly, if you are not happy, you can go back first. I'll wait here by myself. Wang Shili smiled bitterly. Why should I go back? Am I not afraid that the cold weather will freeze you? At that time, the master will scold me for not doing my best. However, since the young master said so, Wang Shili couldn't say anything more. After a while, he didn't expect Shuya to really come out of the hotel. Although she was wearing sunglasses and a big hat, Ji Xiaohe still recognized her at a glance. Ji Xiaohe was excited. He rushed over with the roses. When Shuya went out, the security guards at the door naturally paid extra attention. They immediately found Ji Xiaohe, the restless factor. Before he ran to Shuya, Ji Xiaohe was stopped by a few black-shirt men who came out of nowhere. What are you doing? Who are you? Get out of the way. Ji Xiaohe said impatiently. Seeing that Shuya was going to get into the car, if he didn't go over, he wouldn't be able to make it. We are the security guards of the hotel. Sir, your behavior is very suspicious, so we have to carry out the necessary interrogation. The security guard was very polite. Interrogation? What interrogation? Do you think I look like a bad guy? Seeing that Shuya was about to get into the car, Ji Xiaohe was anxious. He pushed away the security guard and rushed over. When the security guard saw Ji Xiaohe's posture, how could he let him go? He quickly grabbed him. Ji Xiaohe was so angry that he turned back and punched the security guard in the face. The security guard was immediately anxious. Originally, we can talk about it. What do you mean by hitting me? However, due to the rules, the security guard didn't immediately fight back. Instead, he stared at Ji Xiaohe. Why are you hitting people? I'm hitting you. Ji Xiaohe punched again, and the security guard immediately became bruised. This time, the security guard waved his hand, and the other security guard next to him quickly controlled Ji Xiaohe. Although Ji Xiaohe was quite fierce, he was also fierce. He wasn't the opponent of the two trained security guards. First, take him back to the security room, and then ask the manager whether to call the police or not. The security guard who was beaten said bitterly. It wasn't good to hit people at the entrance of the hotel, but when they returned to the security room, they could do whatever they wanted. Let me go. Do you know who I am? Why do you want to catch me? Ji Xiaohe was also a pampered person since he was a child. His family was also very rich, otherwise, he couldn't mix with Huang Rongjin. Why would the security guard care who he was? Even if he was a character, the manager had to make a decision personally. Anyway, take him back to the security room first. Seeing that Ji Xiaohe was caught, Wang Shili instinctively wanted to rush over, but when he just took a step, he hesitated. After weighing the pros and cons, he stopped. After all, it was impossible for him to grab Ji Xiaohe from those people. Instead, he might put himself in danger. It was better to contact Huang Rongjin and see if he had any good ideas. Huang Rongjin's temperament and character were much calmer than Ji Xiaohe. This time, Huang Rongjin was also the leader. As a result, the scene from before occurred. How would Shuya notice these little things? She didn't even see Ji Xiaohe's shadow. When she got in the car, she instructed the driver to go to the Songjiang City First People's Hospital. Auntie Li, I came to see Jijia. Shuya came back once, and Auntie Li also saw her. Auntie Li wasn't a groupie. She just thought that Shuya, this girl, was beautiful, but that was it. You're here. You go ahead. I'm going to wash a rag and wipe the floor. Auntie Lee said with a smile. Shuya nodded and entered Zhou Jiejia's ward. Zhou Jiejia was the same as when she came last time, lying on the bed calmly. Her face was still so peaceful, without a trace of fluctuation. Shuya gently sat on Zhou Jiejia's bed and held Zhou Jiejia's hand. For a time, she was filled with emotions. She didn't know what to say. Jiejia, it's me. Can you hear me? After a while, Shuya calmed down. After all, she came here with a purpose. She didn't just come here casually. The more she knew about Zhou Jiejia, the more Shuya suspected that Zhou Jiejia's so-called knot was related to her. After all, Zhou Jiejia's biggest wish had been achieved. Yang Ming had accepted her. What other worries would she have? The only possibility was that Zhou Jiejia felt that she was impulsive and broke up Yang Ming and her. She was very guilty about this matter, so even if she was with Yang Ming, she would still be brooding about what happened in the past. Therefore, since Shuya thought of this possibility, it was necessary to try it. I know you're listening. I'm Suya. Do you remember me? Shuya whispered in Zhou Jiejia's ear, I know you like Yang Ming, so I don't blame you for what happened in the past. Fortunately, we have met him again, so there is no regret. If you can hear me, then get better quickly. I think we will become good sisters. Originally, Shuya also had an attitude of giving it a try, but she didn't expect that Zhou Jiejia's EEG, who had always been calm, changed and became active. Shuya was shocked, but she didn't expect her words to really work. Chapter 779. Shuya looked at the equipment beside her in astonishment. Although Shuya was not a doctor and had never learned how to use medical equipment, she still understood this common sense. The EEG that was calm just now suddenly became active. Anyone would be shocked by this. Shuya quickly stood up and wanted to run out to call someone. She just saw Auntie Lee coming from outside the ward with a basin of water. She quickly said, Auntie Lee, Jiejia's situation seems to have changed. Hurry up and call the doctor. What? There is a change. Auntie Lee was also shocked after hearing it. She quickly put aside the basin in her hand and ran out of the ward. It didn't take long for two doctors in white coats to rush in. They pushed open the door of the ward and asked, What happened to the patient? This is the case. I was talking to the patient just now. Suddenly, the patient's EEG seemed to have changed. Shuya explained to the doctor. Oh. Is that so? The doctor's expression became dignified. He walked quickly to Zhou Jiejia's ward and carefully observed the waveform display on the bedside instrument. After the doctor finished looking, he operated the instrument again and called up the waveform chart from a few minutes ago for comparison. Then, he discussed something with the other doctor next to him in a low voice. After a while, both of them nodded at the same time. Auntie Lee didn't know what was going on. She had been worried. After all, as Zhou Jiejia's special caretaker, she was obligated to take care of Zhou Jiejia. If Zhou Jiejia had an accident, how could she explain it to the boss who hired her? Doctor, how is it? Auntie Lee saw that the two doctors were just talking to each other. She didn't know what happened to Zhou Jiejia, so she couldn't help but ask. This is the case. The doctor who spoke just now said, from the patient's current EEG, the waveform is very active. This is a good sign. In and out of the country, many similar patients will have this sign before they wake up. Ah! Auntie Lee was happy after hearing it. That is to say, Jiejia is going to wake up. In theory, yes. The doctor nodded. Maybe tomorrow, maybe we have to wait for a while, but compared to before, this is already a big leap. For example, the patient now has almost walked out of herself. The current state is almost the same as sleeping. When she has enough rest, she will wake up by herself. Then, how long will it take? Auntie Lee was a little anxious when she saw the doctor was ambiguous. This, we can't say for sure. After all, from our medical point of view, the patient's body fully recovered. In our opinion, the patient is no different from a normal person. But to wake up. Since Zhou Jiejie was hospitalized, these attending doctors had also received a lot of benefits from Yang Ming. Although the hospital regulations did not allow them to accept red packets, Yang Ming cigarettes, alcohol, and shopping cards were endless. There was no harm in accepting such personal gifts. If they did not accept them, the patient's family would think that they did not want to treat the patient seriously. Therefore, these doctors were very concerned about Zhou Jiejie's condition. I see. Auntie Lee was a little disappointed. However, this is a good start. The conversation between this lady and the patient may have touched the knot in the patient's heart, so the current result was produced. The doctor said, in this case, we have to rely on this lady. You'd better recall what you just said to the patient. Then, when you have time, talk to the patient about similar topics. Maybe you can let the patient wake up as soon as possible. Okay, I got it. Xu Ye nodded. That's great. We will go first. If you have anything, call us at any time. The doctor said. After that, he left the ward. Xu Ye breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, these two doctors didn't recognize her. Otherwise, if this was publicized and the reporters learned about it, they might dig up some old news. The two doctors didn't recognize Xu Ye just now because they didn't expect that the celebrity, Xu Ye, would come to the hospital. Secondly, their minds were on the patient, and they didn't look at Xu Ye carefully. However, Xu Ye couldn't continue to stay here. After all, once or twice was nothing. After a long time, someone would definitely recognize her. At that time, it would be really troublesome. Xu Ye stood up and said to Auntie Lee, then I will go back first. Oh. Right, miss, I still don't know your name. I forgot to ask last time. Auntie Lee patted her head and asked. Oh. Xu Ye hesitated, and then said affirmatively, my surname is Suya. My name is Ye, Suya. Suya. Not bad. This name is very nice. It is as beautiful as you. Auntie Lee wasn't a groupie. Naturally, she didn't know Xu Ye, so she didn't think much about it. Xu Ye, the reason why she told Auntie Lee her real name was also after a mental struggle, but in the end, she said it. If Yang Ming accidentally learned her identity from Auntie Lee, it would be good. In these 2 days, Xu Ye had a headache about how to confess to Yang Ming. In this way, it would save her a lot of trouble. At that time, it would depend on Yang Ming's attitude. If Yang Ming accepted her, it would naturally be good. If Yang Ming really didn't accept her, it wasn't that there was no room for redemption. At most, she could bite the bullet and deny it. She would say that Auntie Lee heard it wrong. She said Xu Ye, and Auntie Lee misheard Su and Shu. Auntie Lee was very excited. She wanted to tell this good news to Miss Chen and Mr. Yang, but after thinking about it, Zhou Jiejie hadn't woken up yet. She just got better. Even the doctor couldn't give a definite time, so she gave up. It was better to wait for a while. In fact, Xu Ye really guessed it right. Zhou Jiejie's knot in her heart was indeed the incident in the past. This could be seen from Zhou Jiejie's diary. In the past, she was impulsive. As a result, Xu Ye transferred schools, and Yang Ming also became depraved. This incident made Zhou Jiejie really regret it for a long time. Until now, she was still brooding about it. Although she got Yang Ming's forgiveness, she didn't know how Suya was now, so this became a worry in Zhou Zhejia's heart. Due to a strange combination of circumstances, this injury became a knot in her heart. Zhou Zhejia subconsciously wanted to wake up, but she didn't want to wake up. Yang Ming promised her that he would accept her after she recovered, but when the moment came, Zhou Zhejia didn't know how to face Yang Ming. Especially in the past, she caused Suya and Yang Ming to be separated. Until now, there was still no news of Suya, which made Zhou Zhejia feel very guilty. This happiness that originally belonged to Suya, how could she accept it with peace of mind? Therefore, Zhou Zhejia closed herself in a small box, delaying as much as possible. Suya, who was now Shuya, changed her appearance, but Zhou Zhejia couldn't see it in a coma. Moreover, people in a coma had a strong sixth sense to the outside world. Even though Suya's voice had changed, Zhou Zhejia could sensitively capture the similarity of the sound waves, which made her sure that the person who was talking to her was Suya. This involved some very mysterious things. There were many similar cases in the world. For example, a girl heard that her husband had died on the battlefield, and she suddenly fainted. No matter how the people around her called her, she just didn't wake up. It wasn't until many years later that her husband returned. It turned out that her husband hadn't died, but had been captured by the enemy. Later, when the war was over, her husband was sold as a slave. After many years of hard work, he finally redeemed himself and returned to his hometown. When he found his wife, he found that his wife was lying quietly on the hospital bed. At this moment, both his appearance and voice had changed a lot. Even his younger brother didn't recognize him. It wasn't until he took out the keepsake that his younger brother confirmed his identity. After he came back, he spent every day talking to his wife. Then, a miracle happened. His wife woke up one day, and she immediately recognized her husband the moment she woke up. This magical phenomenon that modern science couldn't explain could only be attributed to the sixth sense. This was a very famous and ordinary anecdote that everyone knew. There were many similar anecdotes. But in any case, Zhou Zhejia heard Suya's voice. Maybe she was really not far from waking up. Huang Rongjin originally thought that it was just a small security guard of a hotel. This was not a big deal at all. It should be easy to solve by spending some money to compensate. But when he arrived at the place, he found that his idea was wrong. Things were unexpectedly tricky. He ran back and forth for several laps, but he didn't even see the face of the person in charge. Not to mention the manager, he didn't even see the manager of the security department. After a while, the people of the security department gave face to Ji Xiaohe, a foreign guest, and didn't do anything to him. They just didn't let him go. They threatened to send Ji Xiaohe to the police station after the manager came back. Beating a hotel staff in public was a crime that could be big or small. Huang Rongjin said a lot of good words, but they didn't care about him at all. Especially the security guard whose face was swollen, he looked at Huang Rongjin with evil intentions. Huang Rongjin was so angry in his heart. What are you so arrogant about? Isn't it just a small security guard? Look at how arrogant you are. But now, after all, it was someone else's territory. Huang Rongjin didn't dare to do anything. Holding back his anger, he walked out of the hotel. Huang Rongjin sighed and took out the phone. Fortunately, his family's company had business dealings with a trading company here. The relationship between them was good. Huang Rongjin decided to find this company to help. Hello, is this Brother Song? Huang Rongjin said very politely. Oh. I am. Who are you? Song Hang leaned on the boss's chair and touched the female secretary's chest very comfortably. Recently, Song Hang was a lot more low-key. He just played some shady business between the boss and the secretary in the office. He didn't dare to go out and cause trouble. Yang Ming didn't find trouble with him again. However, Song Hang's modesty earned him a lot of popularity. In the business world of Songjiang, Song Hang's reputation was quite good. I am Huang Rongjin, the second son of Singapore's Huang Hontian. Huang Rongjin quickly introduced himself. It's younger brother Huang. Hello, hello. Song Hang naturally remembered it all of a sudden, but Song Hang's age wasn't that old, so he was on the same level as Huang Rongjin. I heard from director Huang that younger brother Huang came to Songjiang. I wanted to be a good host, but younger brother Huang didn't give me this opportunity. Brother Song, let's talk about these things when we have time. I have something to trouble you this time. Huang Rongjin hesitated and said. The cooperation between the two was quite pleasant, so it was normal for Huang Rongjin to ask for help. Oh. What is it? Let me hear it. If I can do it, I will try my best. Song Hang asked after listening. This is the case. Ji Xiaohe, does brother Song know him? Asked Huang Rongjin. Oh, I have heard that the Ji family also has a big consortium in your place. Their strength is also very strong. Song Hang nodded and said, Ji Xiaohe is the young master of the Ji family. I heard director Huang briefly introduce him. Ji Xiaohe beat someone up today, and the other party was unforgiving. Huang Rongjin sighed and said. Beat someone up? Who did he beat? Song Hang also put away his smile, and his tone became serious. After all, beating someone up seemed to be simple, but the most important thing was who the person was. A hotel security guard. Replied Huang Rongjin. What? Security guard. Song Hang suddenly said, isn't it fine to just pay some money? What is there to be unforgiving about? But the other party. Brother Song, can you come forward and help to mediate? Asked Huang Rongjin. What hotel? Song Hang asked casually. In his opinion, this was not a big deal. If he could help, he would naturally help. Heavenly Earth, said Huang Rongjin. Heavenly Earth? What? You said Heavenly Earth. Song Hang was shocked after listening. Beat their people up. Then it's over. Over. Huang Rongjin was stunned. He was somewhat surprised by the change in Song Hang's attitude. Brother Song, what the hell is going on? What do you mean it's over? Brother Huang, I really can't help with this. I can't afford to offend this heavenly earth. Even in Songjiang City, there aren't many people who can offend them. Song Hang carefully persuaded, I'm really sorry, Brother Song. Does this heavenly earth have a strong background? Why is it like a tiger's but that can't be touched? Huang Rongjin was very puzzled. Forget it, I will tell you the truth. Song Hang sighed. The security guards of this heavenly earth belong to the Mingyang Security Company, and the predecessor of the Mingyang Security Company was a gangster. Do you understand what I'm saying? Gangster. Gang organization. Huang Rongjin was shocked. He didn't expect Ji Xiaohe to provoke the local gang. You think about it. Although you only beat a security guard, which boss doesn't want to lose face? You beat his people, which is equivalent to making him lose face. Will he let it go? Song Hang explained, this heavenly earth and the Mingyang Security Company have the same boss. They are also the bosses of Songjiang. It's not that I don't want to help, but they won't even bother with me, then. I'll trouble you, Brother Song. I will think of a way myself. Huang Rongjin listened to Song Hang and understood everything. Ji Xiaohe's trouble this time is really big. Huang Rongjin suddenly thought of something and asked, right, Brother Song, do you know this person, Yang Ming? Huang Rongjin originally didn't want to trouble Yang Ming, but after thinking about it, he really didn't know anyone in Songjiang. However, since the people Ji Xiaohe provoked were so powerful, even Song Hang, the local tyrant, couldn't do anything. Thinking about it, Yang Ming, who he just met, couldn't do anything. However, with an attitude of giving it a try, Huang Rongjin still asked a question. Let's explore the details of Yang Ming first. What? Song Hang was almost scared to death when he heard the name. His butt seemed to be loaded with a spring. He bounced up from the chair with a whoosh. What did you say? Yang Ming. Did you piss him off again? Oh my God, listen to my advice. You should run away quickly. Run away. What do you mean? Huang Rongjin was somewhat inexplicable. You provoked the people of Heavenly Earth and the Mingyang Security Company. You will definitely suffer a little, but they may not do anything to you. But if you provoke Yang Ming, then you can only wait for death. Song Hang's hand holding the mobile phone trembled a little. When he thought of the situation when Yang Ming came to him last time, Song Hang almost peed his pants. Brother Song, what are you talking about? What happened to Yang Ming? Which Yang Ming are you talking about? Huang Rongjin thought that Song Hang had misheard. The Yang Ming I'm talking about is a young man in his 20s. He has a crew cut and is very tall. He is about 183 meters. Why do you say it like he is a demon? It's him. Song Hang was shocked. You didn't really provoke him, right? Then it's over. Huang Rongjin was really a bit confused this time. What the hell is going on? But he still said, I didn't provoke him. I just know him. He left me his phone number. He said that if there is something in Songjiang, I can look for him. I just want to confirm his identity. Ah. Song Hang listened to Huang Rongjin and was stunned, but then he said happily, it turns out to be like this. That's great. You can look for him for this. If he is willing to help you, it may work. Huang Rongjin asked more, but Song Hang refused to say more. It was no wonder. How could Song Hang's shocking history be casually told to people? Huang Rongjin thought that Song Hang didn't dare to talk about it, so he no longer asked. He thanked him and hurriedly hung up the phone. However, Huang Rongjin didn't see how scary Yang Ming was. He was a very approachable person with a strong sense of humor. Recalling Yang Ming's behavior on the boat before, Huang Rongjin was a bit amused. He opened the phone book and dialed Yang Ming's phone number that he had just saved today. Yang Ming had just returned to the small yacht at this moment. He was playing Titanic with Qin Mengyan, but the phone rang, destroying the romantic atmosphere just now. Glancing at the caller ID, it was a bit familiar. Yang Ming picked up the phone. Hello. Hello, is this Yang Ming, my younger brother? Huang Rongjin asked tentatively. I am. Who are you? Asked Yang Ming. It was somewhat inexplicable to call Yang Ming as a younger brother because few people would call him that. I am Huang Rongjin. I met you on the boat. Huang Rongjin said quickly. Oh, it's Brother Huang. Hello. Yang Ming thought, I was wondering why this phone number was so familiar. It turned out that I had dialed it before. Younger brother Yang, I'm a little embarrassed to ask. Huang Rongjin hesitated. After all, it wasn't right to ask for help when they just met. Is it because the matter over there is not easy to solve? What help do you need? Just say it. Yang Ming smiled and probably guessed it. Because Huang Rongjin left because of something, now he called Yang Ming, it must be that the matter over there was troublesome. Younger brother Yang, you are right. It is indeed like this. Huang Rongjin smiled bitterly. My friend beat up the security guard of Heavenly Earth. He has a bad temper. As a result, the other party's people didn't give up. Oh. Why? Why? Yang Ming didn't take it seriously and asked indifferently. Huang Rongjin was shocked. Sure enough, there is hope. Yang Ming didn't question the background of Heavenly Earth, but directly asked why. That showed that Yang Ming's background may be stronger than Heavenly Earth. My friend is a fan of Miss Shuya. He didn't mean anything else. He just wanted to send a bouquet of flowers to the goddess in his heart. As a result, the security guard stopped him and didn't let him go. When he saw that Miss Shuya was going to leave by car, he was anxious and fought with the security guard. Now they are going to send him to the police station. I'm afraid that it won't end well if things get out of hand. Huang Rongjin was very fair. He didn't distort or favor. Because he knew that if he wanted to solve the problem, he couldn't just shirk the responsibility. Only by objectively narrating the process of the matter, people could help. Oh. Is this the case? Is it serious? Yang Ming continued to ask after listening. Half of the security guard's face was swollen. Huang Rongjin replied. This way. Yang Ming hesitated. Although it was only a matter of a sentence for the hotel to release the person, wouldn't it be too much to do so? After all, Huang Rongjin was just a friend that he just met, and it was his friend who had an accident, not him. If all of his friends' friends came to him through relationships, where would the dignity of Bao Sanli's side be? Seeing that Yang Ming just said, this way. Huang Rongjin immediately became nervous. He didn't know if Yang Ming would care about this matter. After hesitating for a while, Yang Ming said, let's do this. After all, it was your friend who started it first. This is his fault. Let him apologize to the other party and compensate more for the medical expenses. Do you think this is okay? Huang Rongjin was stunned. Yang Ming actually discussed with me. Moreover, isn't this solution what I want? However, Huang Rongjin was somewhat hesitant. I wanted to talk to them like this before, but they didn't accept it at all. I will make a phone call, and then you can go directly. Yang Ming said very casually. Ah. This. Huang Rongjin had some doubts, but when he remembered Song Hang's reaction before, he suddenly calmed down. It seems that this Yang Ming is really a big shot in Songjiang. So he hurriedly expressed his gratitude. Thank you, Brother Yang. It's just a small matter. Also, tell your friend that it's okay to chase stars, but pay attention to the method. Don't be too excited. Yang Ming smiled. Sure, sure. Huang Rongjin said quickly. This time, things became unexpectedly smooth. When Huang Rongjin returned to the security room, Ji Xiaoboxen was already standing at the door with his head down. Apparently, he was frightened just now. The manager of the security department also came back. When he saw Huang Rongjin, he said, hello, you are Brother Yang's friend. I am the manager of the security department. Just call me Shaoli Manager Li, hello. Huang Rongjin hurriedly stepped forward and said, sorry to trouble you. How could Huang Rongjin not see it? This matter is really going to be resolved. Since they brought Ji Xiaohe out, it means that they are ready to settle this matter. Look at this matter. We are all family. There is no need to say so much. Manager Li waved his hand and said, I also troubled Brother Yang to call me. I'm really sorry. You could have just said it before. Huang Rongjin didn't expect Yang Ming's face to be so big. The manager of the security department seemed to be older than him. He actually called Yang Ming Brother Yang. Then, the power of Yang Ming could be imagined. Little Ji apologized to him. Huang Rongjin glared at Ji Xiaohe. Sorry. I was anxious just now. Ji Xiaohe also calmed down at the moment. He also felt a little guilty about his previous irrationality. I was also a bit rude at the time. The security guard who was beaten had a smile on his face at the moment. There was no hostility like before. Forget it. Let's not talk about this matter anymore. That's fine. Since everyone is so straightforward, then I won't say anything. Huang Rongjin quickly took out the prepared envelope of money. He withdrew 20,000 yuan. He thought that it was enough. This is the medical fee. It is my little compensation, how can this be? Manager Li took the lead and refused. You are Brother Yang's friend. I can't accept the money even if you give it to me. This is a separate matter. Huang Rongjin looked at Manager Li's bright smile and sighed. It seems that Yang Ming is really a capable person. I met a noble person today. However, Yang Ming's face was just face. Huang Rongjin wasn't the kind of person who didn't know when to back down. He knew that if he didn't give the money, it would be Yang Ming owing him a favor. So, he stuffed the money in his hand into the hand of the security guard who was beaten. This is also Yang Ming's intention. The security guard looked at Manager Li and didn't dare to accept Huang Rongjin's money. Forget it. If this is the case, you take it first. Manager Li waved and said. Huang Rongjin didn't know that Yang Ming was actually the big boss behind these people. He thought that Yang Ming wanted to owe him a favor. Seeing that the money was given out, he was relieved and said, then I won't bother you. My friend and I will go back first. Okay, I will send you. Manager Li nodded and said. How can I trouble you? Huang Rongjin waved his hand. The two people declined for a while and came to the door of the hotel. Huang Rongjin and Ji Xiaohe got in Wang Shili's car, and Manager Li also went back. You really don't let me have peace of mind. If I didn't just meet a powerful friend today, today's matter would definitely not be so easy. Huang Rongjin scolded Ji Xiaohe angrily. I'm sorry, Brother Huang. Ji Xiaohe also saw the attitude of the security department people to Huang Rongjin before and after. He was also impulsive. At that time, he only had Shuya in his eyes. He didn't consider others at all. Forget it. Let's not talk about this first. I will call Yang Ming and thank him. Huang Rongjin took out his mobile phone and dialed Yang Ming's number. In the Heavenly Earth security room, the security guard who was beaten saw Manager Li come back. He quickly handed over the envelope with the money and said, Manager Li, this is the money just now, why are you giving it to me? Manager Li waved his hand and said, this is for you. You just take it. Brother Yang also means the same. Brother Yang said that you did the right thing. This money should be taken. Really? After the security guard heard it, his eyes suddenly lit up. Although they were not very clear about the identity of Yang Ming, Yang Ming's name in the security company was still very famous. The instructors who were sent to train them were said to be Brother Yang's apprentices. So how could these people not worship Yang Ming? In particular, the relationship between Yang Ming, Bao Sanli, and Ho Zhenhan was also very good. He was also their leader, so Yang Ming's praise made these lower-level people suddenly happy. It's just that this money is too much. My face is just swollen. I will go back and put a hot towel on it. There will be no problem. The security guard said with some difficulty. That's it. If you think the money is too much, you can treat our security department to a drink after work. Isn't that fine? Manager Li smiled. Of course, no problem. Let's do it today. Everyone has time, right? The security guard quickly responded. Yes. Great, let's not go home until we are drunk tonight. Everyone said happily. In a blink of an eye, they forgot the previous unpleasantness. Yang Ming, you carry me. Chen Mengyan glanced at Tian Donghua, who was holding Wang Shui intimately. She was a little jealous in her heart. She actually took the initiative to speak to Yang Ming. Yang Ming was stunned. Looking at Chen Mengyan's appearance, he knew that she was angry because of the previous 2 phone calls. Well, don't talk about carrying. You can carry me too. Yang Ming smiled and picked up Chen Mengyan and spun her around in the air. Yeah, you scared me. Chen Mengyan closed her eyes. Be careful. Aren't you afraid of throwing me into the sea? Throwing you into the sea is good. It just so happens that it's winter. If you fall into the sea, I will jump in. We will be the real Titanic. Yang Ming said with a smile. Stop it. Isn't that stupid? If I fall into the sea, you don't save me. Instead, you want to jump in. What's wrong with you? Chen Mengyan complained. Hee, isn't it just a casual remark? With me here, how can you fall into the sea? Yang Ming laughed. You are so talkative. Chen Mengyan tapped Yang Ming's forehead with her hand, but suddenly Chen Mengyan looked around strangely. She frowned and said with some surprise, Yang Ming, why are there no boats near us? Because there was a special pilot, Yang Ming did not care about the route of the boat. Now that he heard Chen Mengyan say so, he paid attention. Sure enough, Chen Mengyan was right. All around them was the vast and endless sea. There were no boats passing by. Before, although they couldn't see the coast, they often saw boats passing by. After all, these yachts were all owned by the same company. They would go back and forth in the specified area, so it was normal to encounter each other. But it would never be like now, where they couldn't see a boat for so long. Yang Ming frowned and looked around with his special ability, but he found that there was really no boat nearby. The nearest boats were near the offshore club. And they were already far away from the offshore club. Yang Ming was shocked. Although he had special abilities, and his skills were first class, in this unknown sea, it was inevitable that he would be a little flustered. After all, if there was a situation, it was definitely not something that could be controlled by human factors. Yang Ming quickly looked at the cockpit, but he saw a scene that shocked him. The previous pilot was gone. Seeing Yang Ming frowning, Chen Mengyan was also a little flustered. Yang Ming, what's wrong? Nothing. Afraid that Chen Mengyan was worried, Yang Ming forced a smile, but he said, you wait for me here. I will be back soon. Fortunately, he had learned how to drive a boat, so he didn't panic. With his extraordinary eyesight, it was difficult to get lost. He just had to look at the direction of the shore and go straight. As for reef, that was nothing in Yang Ming's eyes. So although Yang Ming didn't know what was going on, he wasn't too worried. After all, the situation was still okay. Yang Ming walked quickly to the cockpit, but unfortunately found that the fuel gauge had reached the red line. In other words, there was no fuel in the boat. Obviously, it was impossible to drive it back. What the hell is going on? Yang Ming couldn't help but fall into contemplation. If the disappearance of the pilot was an accident, then the fuel in the fuel tank was also gone. How could this be explained? All this made Yang Ming suspicious. There seemed to be a huge conspiracy in this. On this yacht, except for the cockpit, there was no place to hide at all. The pilot must have slipped away somewhere in the middle. Yang Ming quickly returned to the deck and shouted to Tian Donghua, "Old Tian. Come here, there is something important." Ah! Tian Donghua was being intimate with Wang Shui. When he heard Yang Ming shout, he turned around with some dissatisfaction. What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? Can't you wait? You have no eyesight at all. Wait? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. I'm afraid the situation will be worse if we wait for a while. Looking at the boat drifting along the sea, God knew where it would drift to. What do you mean? Tian Donghua was stunned. What are you talking about? What's worse? What happened? Wang Shui and Chen Mengyan on the side listened to Yang Ming's words, and their faces suddenly showed doubts and anxiety. The pilot disappeared. No one is controlling the boat now. Yang Ming sighed. He knew that this matter couldn't be hidden from Chen Mengyan and Wang Shui, so he simply said it. Chapter 780. How was Lin Jiyun feeling unwell? She just felt that it was inappropriate for her to be with Chen Mengyan on Valentine's Day. Although Chen Mengyan wasn't hostile to her, Lin Jiyun wasn't the kind of person who would take advantage of others. Therefore, Lin Jiyun thought about it again and again, decided to give Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan a chance to go out alone. Lin Jiyun sent a text message to Yang Ming. Just as she put down the phone, she saw her mother come in. Yunair, how is it? Does your stomach still hurt? It's okay. Lin Jiyun saw her mother come in and pretended to be in some pain. In fact, Lin Jiyun's stomach didn't hurt at all. It wasn't so serious that she couldn't get out of bed. It's not time yet. Why is your menstruation so messy? Shen Yueping handed the hot water bottle in her hands to Lin Jiyun and said, Yunair, did you take any medicine? Ah. What medicine did I take? Lin Jiyun was stunned. It's that. Shen Yueping was an experienced person and her daughter was now a woman, so she didn't avoid it. Contraceptive pills. Ah, I. Lin Jiyun recalled. After she did it with Yang Ming last time, she did take emergency contraceptive pills. The description of the pill also said that it would bring forward the time of menstruation. Looking at her daughter's appearance, Shen Yueping didn't doubt it anymore. She said seriously, that thing can't be taken casually. Did you take a long-acting one or an emergency one? Emergency. Lin Jiyun whispered with a blush. That's good. Mom can tell you that you and Xiao Yang can't be satisfied. Using those long-term contraceptive pills is not good for your body. It may seriously affect your fertility. Shen Yueping said, did you forget to take safety measures? Lin Jiyun was a little embarrassed. Just that one time, when you go to the supermarket in the future, buy some condoms. You can also put one in your bag. Although you are a girl, don't be shy. This is also because I'm afraid that you and little Yang will have thoughts on the spur of the moment, and it will be too late to take precautions. Shen Yueping read a report a while ago on how parents treated female education, so at this moment, it was clear and logical. Although Shen Yueping's thoughts were somewhat conservative, she wasn't the kind of person who desperately wanted to stop something from happening. It was better to let it go. She still understood this principle. The most important thing was to correctly guide her daughter's sexual concept. Lin Jiyun's face was burning as she listened. Mom, don't say any more. All right, I'm doing this for your own good. Then you rest. I'll go out first. Shen Yueping stood up with a smile and left the room. Lin Jiyun quickly covered her head with the quilt. The pilot disappeared. What do you mean? Tian Donghua was baffled by Yang Ming's words. That is, the pilot driving this ship has disappeared. Yang Ming explained with a wry smile, did I not make it clear enough? Ah. Tian Donghua was stunned. The pilot disappeared. How is it possible? Don't joke around. Where can he go on this sea? Did he jump into the sea? I'm not joking with you. If you don't believe me, you can go and look for him yourself. Yang Ming pointed to the direction of the cockpit and said, I just went there. There's no one there. Can we go to the toilet? Chen Mengyan hesitated and asked. Of course, this possibility exists, but the current situation is that the fuel gauge on the ship has reached the bottom. That is to say, even if we find the pilot, it is useless. Besides, I have already looked. There is no one else on this ship except us. Yang Ming said helplessly. Ugh. Tian Donghua quickly ran to the cabin to take a look, then looked around for a while. He finally confirmed that Yang Ming was telling the truth. The pilot was gone. Tian Donghua was a little anxious. Motherfucker. What kind of charter company is this? The quality of the pilot is really good. Scolding people can't solve the problem. Yang Ming spread his hands and said, now think of a way. What should we do? Yang Ming was the calmest person. After encountering a problem, he would think about how to solve the problem instead of worrying blindly. Where are we now? Tian Donghua frowned and looked at the endless sea around him and asked. I don't know, but for such a long time, there is no ship passing by. We may be far away from the coastline. Yang Ming told everyone his guess. Then if we continue like this, wouldn't we not know where we are going? Asked Tian Donghua. That's hard to say. Maybe we can be washed to the shore by the current. Of course, it is also possible that we are on the shore of an isolated island. That is a bit fucked up. Yang Ming shook his head and said. Although Yang Ming said so, he secretly observed the expressions of Tian Donghua and Wang Shui. It was because things were too strange. It was strange to the extent that it was a little strange. Why did the pilot disappear for no reason? And the fuel tank just happened to be out of gas. This made Yang Ming wonder if someone deliberately did it. Moreover, this ship was rented by Yang Ming. Yang Ming had to wonder if Tian Donghua was involved. But after thinking about it, Tian Donghua had no reason to harm him. The pilot and the charter company had no reason to harm him. The ship was rented by Tian Donghua, and he had never shown up. So even if someone wanted to target him, it was impossible to predict in advance. Not to mention that if he didn't appear today, this ship would have been taken away by others. Could it be that all this is really just a coincidence? Yang Ming thought for a long time and couldn't think of a reason. Look over there. What happened there? Yang Ming was pondering when he suddenly heard Wang Shui exclaim loudly. N. Yang Ming raised his head and looked in the direction that Wang Shui pointed. He was suddenly shocked. He didn't know when the deck at the stern was gone. The billowing seawater was pouring into the ship along the stern, and the stern was gradually tilting. What's going on? Yang Ming was shocked. If the ship only ran out of gas, it was still okay. At least there was still hope for survival. If the ship capsized, then survival was uncertain. I don't know. I just turned my head and suddenly saw the deck at the stern collapse. Wang Shui said in panic. Damn, I can't be so unlucky, right? Yang Ming knew that it was useless to be anxious now. Although he could swim, he was thousands of miles away from the shore. Even if his legs were to cramp, it was impossible to swim back. Everyone, hurry up and split up. Look for life jackets or something like that in the cabin. Yang Ming knew that it was useless to complain. The most important thing was to see how to save his life first. Okay. Tian Donghua wasn't a fool. The panic just now was because he was too shocked. Now, he had recovered his calm demeanor. He pulled Wang Shui and ran in the direction of the cabin. Let's go to the cockpit and look. Yang Ming pulled Chen Mingyan's hand and said. If we can't find life jackets, are we going to die? Chen Mingyan's body was trembling. After all, it was difficult for a girl to calm down in this situation. What are you afraid of? At most, we can play the Titanic once. Didn't I just say it? You can rest assured. Even if I die, I won't let you die. Yang Ming didn't have confidence in his heart, but in order to let Chen Mengyan feel at ease, he still smiled and comforted her. His tone was very relaxed. Nonsense. If you are going to die, what should I do? Chen Mengyan was very stubborn as she straightened her neck. Anyway, if we are going to die, we will die together, okay, but aren't we not dead yet? Let's see if we can survive together. Yang Ming smiled. Hee hee. Chen Mengyan also smiled. Yes, living together is much better than dying together. Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan came to the cockpit. Yang Ming saw a few sets of life jackets under the cockpit seat. He quickly found them, but he found that there were only 3 sets of life jackets. Now there were 4 people on board. In other words, one of them was destined to not have a life jacket. Yang Ming looked at the life jackets and smiled bitterly. At this time, isn't it time to show off my style? What's wrong? Seeing Yang Ming in a daze, Chen Mengyan quickly asked, didn't you find the life jackets? But there are only 3 sets. Yang Ming took out the life jackets and shook them in his hand. Then, I won't wear it. Chen Mengyan didn't even think about it and blurted it out. Don't joke around. You guys wear it in a while. I'm good at swimming. I'll think of a way. Yang Ming shook his head and ran out with Chen Mengyan. This wasn't a place to stay for a long time. After all, at this moment, they were in danger. If they were one step late, their lives would be in danger. When they came to the deck of the ship, Tian Donghua and Wang Shui just came back. Tian Donghua looked dignified. I only found a life buoy. You can use it, huh? Are you serious? Yang Ming was stunned and then said happily, just in time, I found 3 sets of life jackets. You, Wang Shui and Chen Mengyan have 1 each. I'll use the life buoy. How can this be? The sea is so cold. Tian Donghua immediately said after listening, why don't I use it? Okay, you don't have to waste time with me. I'm good at swimming. I naturally know what to do. Don't all of us die. Yang Ming gave the life jackets in his hand to Tian Donghua, Wang Shui and Chen Mengyan without any explanation, but he grabbed the life buoy in Tian Donghua's hand. Tian Donghua saw that Yang Ming was very determined, so he couldn't refuse anymore. After all, time was tight now. He reluctantly took the life jackets. The 3 people just hurriedly put on the life jackets. Yang Ming was also checking whether the life buoy was strong. Suddenly, they heard the sound of a motorboat motor accompanied by a person's laughter. Chapter 781. Ha 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 ha. Yang Ming, oh, Yang Ming, you didn't expect it, right? You also have a day like this. The voice on the motorboat was very familiar. Yang Ming looked up and saw Wang Jitao, who had disappeared for a long time, standing on the motorboat. Wang Jitao. Yang Ming frowned. It seemed that all of this should be his doing. However, it seemed a bit impossible for Wang Jitao to make such a big move with his personal strength. Was Wang Jitao really so powerful? Could it be that there was a mole on my side? Otherwise, things were too coincidental. The stern just leaked, and Wang Jitao appeared. If he didn't predict the future, then he also had special abilities that could remotely control everything here. However, this was obviously impossible. If Wang Jitao had this ability, he didn't have to go through so much trouble. He could also kill Yang Ming on land. Hee hee, Yang Ming, have you ever thought that one day, you will also die? Wang Jitao's voice was a little hoarse, and it seemed particularly sharp in the whistling sea breeze. His messy hair was blown up, making him look like a madman. Wang Jitao, what do you want to do? Are these things all caused by you? Yang Ming was surprised by Wang Jitao's sudden appearance, but he still asked calmly. So what? Yang Ming, you ruined my family. I will kill you today. Wang Jitao shouted. You want me to die? Not necessarily. Even if the boat capsizes, we may not die. Yang Ming said faintly. Then let's try. As Wang Jitao finished speaking, he took out a pistol from his pocket. The black muzzle pointed at Yang Ming. This time, I want to see if you will die or not. Yang Ming's cold sweat suddenly came out. This guy is purely a madman. Although Yang Ming could be very sure that he could avoid Wang Jitao's gun, he couldn't guarantee that Chen Mengyan, Tian Donghua, and Wang Shui could also avoid it. At that time, if there was a heroic scene of a beauty blocking the gun for him, then Yang Ming would really be better off dead. Ha ha ha, why? Are you scared? Wang Jitao sneered. I will give you a chance. It's too boring to kill you with one shot. How about this, you jump into the sea. I will watch you sink to the bottom and feed you to the sharks. Then I will let your peoples. Not only will I not kill them, but I will also bring them back to the motorboat and send them back. Can I believe you? Asked Yang Ming. Yang Ming really didn't dare to compliment Wang Jitao's character. Believe it or not, it's up to you. However, if you don't jump, then you all have to die. Wang Jitao widened his eyes, and his expression was very ferocious. Who should I start with first? Wahahaha, it's better to kill someone familiar. Chen Mengyan. He, I'm sorry, dear study commissary. Who asked you to follow Yang Ming, this bastard? Don't blame me when you die. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for choosing Yang Ming. Wait. Yang Ming saw Wang Jitao raise the pistol and quickly stopped him. For a madman like Wang Jitao, Yang Ming was really afraid that he could do anything. Even if he was good at fighting, it couldn't be compared to a random gun. If Wang Jitao really shot randomly for a while, then Yang Ming really couldn't handle it. If I jump down, will you hurt others? Yang Ming asked after a moment of hesitation. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. You can choose not to jump, but when I kill them one by one, you will also die. Wang Jitao coldly snorted. Okay, then I will jump. I hope you will keep your promise. Yang Ming nodded and said very solemnly. Ha, you jump, hurry up and jump. Maybe I will change my mind in a while. Wang Jitao laughed. Yang Ming, don't jump. Chen Mengyan listened to Yang Ming's words and suddenly became anxious. She pulled Yang Ming's hand and didn't let go. It's okay, don't worry. Yang Ming said softly in Chen Mengyan's ear. But Chen Mengyan naturally didn't want Yang Ming to be in danger. No buts. If I don't jump, we will all die. Don't you see that he has a gun? Yang Ming held Chen Mengyan's hand. Let's discuss with him, persuade him. Chen Mengyan didn't give up and said. It's useless to say anything to this kind of madman. Yang Ming said, believe me, I won't die. Okay, don't waste time. Fuck. Wang Jitao scolded impatiently, why are you still being so lovey-dovey at this time? Hurry up and jump, or I will blow your head off. Yang Ming turned around and looked at Wang Jitao. Remember what you said, or you will regret it. After that, Yang Ming jumped into the sea. Damn, are you threatening me? Wang Jitao said disdainfully, hee, I will watch you die. Yang Ming struggled in the sea. After a while, he choked on a mouthful of water and coughed loudly. Not long after, he sank into the sea. Wahahaha, I sank. It's so cool. Wang Jitao looked at Yang Ming's appearance and shouted with joy. After waving for a long time, he said, "Who knows if you are really dead or not?" As he said that, he picked up the pistol and fired 2 shots at the place where Yang Ming sank. No! Chen Mengyan was shocked, but it was too late. Red threads floated up from the sea. Obviously, Yang Ming was shot. Ha 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 ha. The sharks will come in a while. You all wait for death together. It's so fucking cool. Wang Jitao laughed crazily. You don't keep your words. Are you a fucking man? Yang Ming has already jumped into the sea, and you still shoot. Tian Donghua was angry and pointed at Wang Jitao and shouted. Hey, why can't I shoot after jumping into the sea? If I don't shoot, how can I attract sharks? Wang Jitao said disapprovingly. At this moment, Chen Mengyan was completely dumbfounded. She knelt on the deck of the ship and looked at the deep sea. I will fight with you. Tian Donghua was immediately furious. He picked up a leisure chair on the deck and threw it at Wang Jitao. "Oh. You still dare to be cocky with me? Do you want to die?" Wang Jitao quickly leaned back to avoid the stool. He raised his hand and shot, hitting Tian Donghua's leg. Ah! Tian Donghua squatted down while covering his leg. Blood overflowed from his fingers. Wang Jitao, what are you doing? How can you shoot my husband? Wang Shui saw that she was shot, and her eyes widened. She questioned Wang Jitao. Shoot. I already gave you a lot of face by shooting. You hit me with a stool. It's good that I didn't shoot him to death. Wang Jitao said indifferently. Wang Jitao, you are really good. Wang Shui was so angry that she pointed at Wang Jitao and couldn't speak. Hee, sister, you slowly play with my brother-in-law. I am leaving. I wish you a good time with the sharks. Wang Jitao blew the barrel and said proudly. What did you say? You are leaving. What should we do? Wang Shui suddenly became anxious. You do what you have to do. Wang Jitao said indifferently. You are shameless. You want to leave me alone. Wang Shui looked at Wang Jitao angrily. Che, I am too lazy to care about you. Wang Jitao was already crazy. Family and friendship were nothing in his eyes. Brother, I will make you regret it. Wang Shui stared at Wang Jitao fiercely. She didn't know when, but there was a smart remote control in her hand. I have already guessed that you are an ungrateful person. Fortunately, I was prepared. Then let's die together. After that, Wang Shui pressed the red button on the remote control. However, for a long time, nothing happened. What happened? Why didn't your motorboat explode? Wang Shui looked at Wang Jitao and his motorboat in amazement. You are still too inexperienced to play with me. Wang Jitao smiled coldly. Fortunately, Brother Huang helped me check the motorboat and found that there was a time bomb installed on it. You are ruthless. It is said that the most vicious thing is a woman's heart. You still have a trick up your sleeve for your brother, then I don't have to be merciful to you. You know. Wang Shui suddenly knelt on the deck in despair beside Tian Donghua. She looked at the injured Tian Donghua and muttered to herself, I am sorry, husband, it is all my fault. Although Tian Donghua was injured, his life was not in danger. The conversation between Wang Shui and Wang Jitao made him suddenly dumbfounded. He didn't expect Wang Jitao to be Wang Shui's brother. Chen Mengyan on the side also looked at everything that happened in front of her. The secret in the middle was so amazing. Wait for death. In a while, Yang Ming's blood will attract the sharks. Ha 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 ha. Wang Jitao laughed wildly and was ready to start the motorboat. The thing that attracted the sharks is probably your own blood, right? A voice as cold as an iceberg suddenly sounded in Wang Jitao's ears. Wang Jitao was so shocked that he almost dropped the gun in his hand. However, it didn't matter whether he held it firmly or not. In the next moment, the pistol had fallen into the hands of someone else. This person was naturally Yang Ming. Looking at Yang Ming standing beside him, Wang Jitao was shocked. How are you not dead? Yeah, of course, I am not dead. Yang Ming looked at Wang Jitao with some ridicule. I just said that if you don't keep your promise, then you will regret it. Wang Jitao didn't expect that Yang Ming would suddenly appear on his motorboat. What about me? You are surprised, aren't you? I wasn't shot to death by you. Yang Ming looked at Wang Jitao with a smile. Wang Jitao didn't speak, but his expression meant that. Well, then I will let you solve your doubts before you die. See, you didn't shoot me. The blood in the sea was from me cutting my arm with a knife. I did this to make you feel at ease. Yang Ming stretched out his arm. There was a big wound on it. But it wasn't a gunshot wound. You cheated. Wang Jitao was angry and shocked. He didn't expect his plan to be ruined in the end. It's just that you are too stupid. Yang Ming snorted. However, I didn't expect that Wang Shui was actually your sister.